Shit! What do you do, Mad Mr. T? Hello and welcome to Long Live Hooky Street, the podcast where we rewatch and discuss every episode of Britain's most beloved TV comedy, Only Fools and Horses. I'm Jenny and I'm joined from Hong Kong by my co-host and sister Heather. Say hello, dude.
Hello!
Today we are discussing Series 6, Episode 3, Chain Gang. So grab a mineral water and let's get started.
This episode aired on the BBC at 7:15 p.m. on Sunday, the 22nd of January, 1989. This week's viewing figures were a little bit higher than last week, up to 16.3 million. No schedule changes this week, still airing after Songs of Praise and followed by Mastermind. We have a new UK #1 song this week, Something's Gotten Hold of My Heart by Mark Almond and Gene Pitney. And a new movie at the top of the UK box office, Cocktail, starring Tom Cruise. Okay, should we move on to a little bit of trivia for this week, dude?
Okay, yes, let's do that. John Sullivan had once worked and known many people who worked in the second-hand car trade. It was here when he learned how easy it was to pick up an old ambulance at auction. He knew that nobody would question an ambulance and that they can go through red lights, so saw the opportunity for a scam plot. He went on to build the storyline around this idea. John Sullivan, and I'm sure many fans, considered this episode an excellent ensemble piece. He felt that with the new 50-minute runtime, he was able to include a lot more side characters
definitely.
and give them the screen time they deserve. The 111 Club is seen for the first time here, and if I'm correct, the first reference to it was in The Longest Night. Location shooting for this episode was mostly done back in London, so we will add in those as we go through the episode breakdown. The exterior of the 111 Club was in Bristol though, and it was the outside of the Parkside Hotel, the interior being used for the club scenes in Yuppie Love. The scenes at the 111 Club and the Nag's Head in this episode were the first studio scenes to be filmed for Gwent Strong. And Arnie was played by Welsh actor Philip McGough, who excellently portrays the part of an unsuspecting bad guy. McGough was already an established actor at this time and went on to play some pretty major roles in shows such as Bad Girls and Doctors. And finally, Alan Parry gets his first mention in this episode, but I know many are keen to point out that Dell's description of him does not match how he looks when we meet him. We can continue that discussion as we go through the episode. So, shall we move on to the episode rankings for this week, dude?
Yep, let's do it. So our regular listeners will know by now that each week we reveal and compare our rankings for the episode, and prior to recording the entire podcast, we independently ranked all 64 episodes. So if you didn't already know all that, then you're not yet one of our regular punters. We would love for you to subscribe to the podcast. So we release a new episode every Saturday, but at the moment we're releasing once every 2 weeks as the episodes are a little bit longer and therefore take a bit longer to edit. We really do need more subscribers, so please do give us a like. And if you enjoyed this episode, please tell your mates. We also need your support to continue putting in the time and effort that we have been. So please go to our other social medias. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and if you feel inclined, you can buy us a pina colada on buymeacoffee.com. And all of the links will be in the channel page and the episode descriptions. And we just want to say a huge thank you to all the people that have brought us pina coladas already.
Okay, dude, so I'm pretty interested to hear what your ranking is for this episode. Should I guess your ranking?
You can guess.
I'm going to guess it's in your top 10.
No.
It's not? Okay. Wow, your top 10 is so different.
I like to be
Okay,
unpredictable.
So let's mix things up. Let's start with IMDb.
Okay.
Can you guess it?
IMDb, I'm guessing, is quite high for this episode because Series 6 has got to be really high on IMDb. I'm going to say this is probably 9 or 10.
It's 4.
Wow, that is much higher than I thought it would be. Okay.
Yeah, so it's number 4 on IMDb. So for you, let me look at my rankings chart. Rankings tracker. I'm going to guess it then. If it's not in your top 10, I'm going to guess it's your number 17.
You're not too far off, dude. My ranking is 21.
Oh my goodness, you have your Series 6 so low so far. 22, 21.
No, Danger UXD was 1.
I know. I know, but your others though.
It?
Yeah, but Danger UXD like stand out 1, of course, but then all your others so far in your 20s. They're so much lower than I was expecting.
Well,
okay,
I can explain. But anyway, tell me what your ranking is.
Fran has it so much lower, 31.
There you go.
Okay, that's why I couldn't find it.
So given all the shock about mine and Fran's, I'm guessing yours is in the top 10.
Mine is in my top 10. It's number 7.
Okay. So do you want to go ahead and tell us why yours is number 7 to start with?
Well, this episode, I mean, the reason it's number 4 on IMDb as well, and you can read the reviews, and there's not that much in the way of critical reviews for this episode. Most people do really love this episode because it's along with things like Jolly Boy's outing, it's one of the ones that features the most input from the side cast.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the ones in Series 6 do, but this one has a lot of time spent with the entire group. I guess this class is 62. I mean, I think Series 6 and 7 generally are pretty sidecast heavy.
Yeah.
And then from then on, all the specials and stuff have the sidecast in, but not necessarily as much. The thing I like the most about this one and any others where they're all together a lot is, they're all in the flat together. They're all involved in the plot. I think the story is clever. It's unpredictable if you haven't seen it. Obviously, we all know what happens now, but...
Yeah.
Back in the day, it was really unpredictable. I feel like the twist, it actually ends on an interesting note. Like, it's pretty cleverly wrapped up. The characters are all good in this episode. They've all got their own moments where they're funny and they have great lines. And I just think it's an excellent episode. I can't say much critical about it. I think it's really good. Do you want to explain why it's your 20... What was it again?
21st. one higher than Yuppie Love. So This episode for me is a great one. Again, I have to state that so people don't get mad because it really is. I do love this episode. I grew up with this episode, same as Jenny, everything else. But again, rewatchability, and probably for the reason that Jenny has just said, because I know what happens. I've seen it so many times. It's not one that I would necessarily put on to watch if I was just going to watch an episode of Only Fools and Horses, but it is the 21st most likely one I would put on if I was going to watch an episode of Only Fools and Horses. On rewatching this, actually, I did think this, and I'm going to say this probably when we do the episode breakdown as well, that the opening scene feels quite slow, actually, upon reflection. And I think it don't get going, does it? It takes a bit of time to get going, and I think that's the reason that maybe it's just not as... exciting to start with maybe as some of the other episodes. And the other thing that I noticed again watching it back for this review is that there's actually not as many great one-liners in this episode, and you know me, I love my one-liners and my big strong moments. So I think that's probably two of the reasons I can highlight as to why it maybe felt a little bit lower. But again, I would like to say that the ensemble thing is absolutely one of the reasons I love the episode. You're absolutely right. That sort of all of them together plotting to get Arnie back, like that scene at the end is amazing, you know, like all this stuff. I completely agree with you about that. But yeah, that's just my personal reasons why it's maybe not as high as it is for other people. But again, still a great episode.
I think the first couple scenes are pretty slow. That's a really good point. And I do remember that when I was a kid, I didn't necessarily like that part of the episode, like with Arnie in the car and stuff, because it was a little bit more, you know, it's just for explanation reasons.
Yes.
Like just having all that stuff laid out. I liked the after that parts of the episode pretty much.
Yeah.
But it is, if now watching it, it's really interesting because, like, I guess I didn't either click when I was a kid that this was Cassandra meeting Del for the first time, because they don't have much to do with each other in this episode, contrary to the unlucky winner is when they actually spend the entire episode together and you get to see David Jason work with Cassandra.
Yes, the chemistry between them in that episode is definitely very different than the chemistry in this episode. I mean, they're still on very sort of like awkward waving across the room terms, you know, in this episode, and oh, he's lovely, you know, she doesn't really know Del after meeting him.
Yes.
But yeah, it's again not a bad episode at all, but yeah, I think for me, if it started with Arnie and Del making the deal in the car, I think that would have been a good enough start for me. There's actually a lot of similarities as well, I noticed when I was watching this, to Cash and Curry. I think that this is kind of maybe Sullivan was thinking about sort of improving on the Cash and Curry vibes when he made this episode. There's just something about it that kind of reminds me of that. Maybe because it's con men, you know, again, making the Trotters do things and making them give money when they're going to steal it. There's that similarity, but yeah.
Well, if you remember, we did actually talk about that back in Cash and Curry, because it's been so long that you forget, but we talked about how this was an early attempt at chain gang.
Yeah.
We actually said that in the book.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's like there's no way he could have done this episode in 30 minutes. It had to wait until, like, maybe he had, like, the idea of this ages ago, but he had to wait until he had a longer runtime to be able to expand on the story.
Yeah.
And yeah, like, maybe if you think about the club scene and the car scene, maybe they were dragged out a little bit.
Yes, I think they were.
But I don't think it affects the quality of the episode overall.
No, I think I just would have liked to have seen that extra time we had spent more on Del and maybe Trigger or Rodney and Cassandra than on Arnie. I feel like we got a lot of information about Arnie that in the end doesn't really need to be said, especially not as long-winded as it was. But yeah, that's just a very minor criticism.
Yeah, I'll have to talk to Fran about why she has it as 31. Because if you think about...
yeah, it's pretty low for Fran.
If you think about, yeah, like... I mean, I feel like in this case, and I swear this is true, I did not know the IMDb rankings when I did mine. But the last couple of weeks, mine and IMDb have been really similar, which, you know, did not start out being the case back in the old and early episodes.
What was Danger UXD again?
On IMDb, it was number 6.
Yeah. Yeah, so...
And my number 8, so...
Yeah, you and IMDb are pretty aligned. I think some of my episodes have been aligned with IMDb, but most of mine have probably not that aligned. I don't know why.
Obviously, I already know all the IMDb rankings, and I know there are some that I'm way off on.
True.
So, yeah.
I mean, it's fine. Some people rate on IMDb, they probably don't even really know what they're rating.
Well, like I said, yeah, I mean, we've talked about this a lot of times, but they're not ranking on IMDb. They're just rating. And we said at first that we had a theory that the more popular, well-known episodes are just going to get more ratings overall, which will automatically make them higher, even if they aren't the episodes that people like the most.
Yeah,
because like they might have just decided to go on and just rate Chain Gang, but not rate
It Never Rains.
You know, other really popular ones like the Jolly Boys Outing or ones that are really not ever really watched and talked about, like It Never Rains. So
okay, well, if there's nothing else, should we go ahead and start the episode breakdown, dude?
La 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 la.
Okay, so I'll just start by saying that we had a lovely email from Mike Jones, who is one of the writers of the lovely Jubbly book that we've been using for so much of the research for this podcast. So first of all, we have to say thank you for the book.
Thank you.
But Mike reached out to us to let us know how much he'd been enjoying the podcast and incredibly kindly shared with us an event program that contains the production schedule for Series 6. So we got this between recording Danger UXD and this episode, so I'm going to just include the references to the scenes that we discussed today and going forward from this point. So yeah, it would have been useful for us to have had it before we recorded those episodes, but we didn't know it existed, so we didn't know to ask, and obviously Mike had no idea how far ahead we were, so we're going to put this in for today, and hopefully some of this stuff helps build a little bit more context about when things were recorded during those few weeks building up to when they were aired. So we both want to say a massive thank you to Mike for going out of your way to share this with us, and we're very grateful and very excited to have this extra material to read through.
Yes, thank you very much, Mike.
So, as mentioned earlier, the exterior shots for this first scene were the Parkside Hotel in Bristol, which is now the Arnis Manor Hotel, and we've already been here a few times, such as in Yuppie Love and Danger UXT, and we do come back here in Rodney Come Home. But the first scene is actually inside the club, which was an actual studio set of a casino. I don't know if you thought that when you were younger. I used to think this was a real casino, but now when I watch it, I'm like, I obviously know it's not a casino.
I think for me, it's the lighting that gives it away that it's a set.
Yeah, it's
that
very
doesn't
light.
look like how a casino would be lit. I think later on when we were in a casino, that's a real location when in Fatal Extraction, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't read that far ahead, but I would guess that that's a real casino. Yeah.
Yeah, I think because again, if you think about the lighting in that casino versus the one in this one, this is very studio lit for a casino.
Looking at it now, yes, I think it is.
Yes.
So all the studio scenes for Chain Gang were recorded on studio days 8 and 9, which were Saturday the 14th and Sunday the 15th of January 1989. So 1 week before this episode aired. So inside the club here, this, like I said, it was a set. The gambling tables had to be rented. Production designer Graham Lowe is quoted in Lovely Jubbly as saying, "It was loosely based on a gambling club in Russell Square in London, so it wasn't that difficult of a set to design. We had to hire the tables from a supplier who provided tables for professional gambling venues, and I think we even had professional croupiers as extras. So the gambling tables took up most of the set."
Oh wow! So that woman that doesn't notice Del cheating is a professional. That's quite worrying.
Maybe she was fired after this episode. They were like, she's not very good at her job. She didn't see. So the description of the set in the script is actually really long, so I'm not going to read the whole thing. But the first line took me down a little bit of a research rabbit hole. It says, all resemblances to the Richardson's 211 Club are purely coincidental. So I had no idea what this meant. I tried to look it up and I kind of hit a wall. So maybe someone can help us in the comments. I think he might be referencing the Richardson Gang, which was a crime gang based in London in the 1960s. But I couldn't find any mention of a 211 Club. So it could be an inside joke. It could be a reference I'm not getting. But if anyone knows...
It almost sounds like a legal terminology to not get sued for something resembling the way that's
yeah,
written.
Except for the 211 Club doesn't bring up any results when you look it up.
Yeah.
It also says, unlike the Monte Carlo, the emphasis is on one-armed bandits and card games as opposed to roulette. So maybe the Monte Carlo is the name of the club that he's talking about, and the 211 Club is like a nickname, but... If somebody knows, let me know, because I just think I'd find that interesting. We get our first shot of the exterior to start the shot, and then the close-up of the sign, and then we see some croupiers dealing cards. Trigger is there. That's the first thing we see, in his blue suit playing blackjack. And Del is hanging around the roulette table in his tux. And the script says here that Trigger's in his best clothes as per the Christmas special. So by this point, it was all being recorded at the same time as dates. Like they were all intermingled, the days. So that suit is now just in the costume department and in every
like
episode.
the last. Well, apart from Danger UXT, it's been in all the episodes so far in series 6.
Yeah, and it's like it's Trig's suit now. So yeah, it's pretty cool that he has that signature suit.
I do have a question though. I was quite surprised to see Trigger there and not Boise. Like Trigger doesn't seem like the kind of guy who would be a member of a place like that, but Boise does. I don't know if that was just to give Trigger more to do in the episode, or because why do you think that was? Do you know what I mean? Like Boise seems like, do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? Like it seems that Boise would be more suited to that environment than Trigger, because he seems a bit more down to earth, a bit more chill, maybe not a big gambler, certainly not big money to join a casino.
I think in a way it's better for the plot, and maybe written deliberately this way. Maybe he had originally had Boise there because they wanted Boise to not know Arnie and wanted him to not trust him later.
Yeah.
So if Boise had hung out and met Arnie at the casino, their relationship might be different, and he might have gone for Boise rather than Del, or maybe... We just don't know.
That's a good point. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
But I think Del and Trigger are more like trusting people that Arnie could target than Boise, who obviously later, even though he only meets Arnie a few times, he doesn't trust him at all. Even when he does the deal, he's kind of a jerk to him. So maybe that's why.
Well, fair enough though, because what we know about Arnie now, Boise was spot on.
Well, Boise was the only one that had the right instinct, yes, in the end.
But Boise was also putting the most money in, so I can understand why he would be the most stressed as well.
Yeah. And he didn't have the right instincts in many times in the past, so it's not like Boise's like faultless, but in this case he was, yeah.
Yes.
So the first part of the plot that gets kicked off is that Del lets us know by talking to Trig that Rodney is bringing Cassandra down to meet them. So we're going to see Del meet Cassandra today, which we're kind of excited to see.
Yes.
And he also says, but he does say here that he doesn't think that the relationship is very serious, which, you know, we know these are all being recorded at the same time and they are getting married. So I wonder why they decided to have Del say that, because this is the serious one for Rodney. But maybe it's just because it's another opportunity to make fun of Rodney.
No, Dave. Yeah, he's on his way down later. He's bringing that bird of his, what's her name, Cassandra.
He's getting a bit serious, isn't he?
No, girls always blow him out after a couple of weeks. That boy's been blown out more times than a windsock.
So here is where Del points out Arnie to Trig, and Trig says that he's seen him around, and they're both kind of feeling him out at this point. It's already obvious at this time that Del is looking to make a little bit of bunts, and he starts off the story by letting us know that Arnie is a retired jewelry dealer, and he does a little bit on the side, so just a little bit of plot set up there. And Del confides his plans to Trigger. I notice here that there's a line here that gets no laugh at all, but I think it's funny when Trig asks,
I heard your firm was broke.
You know me, Trig, I'm a businessman. I've always got a little bit pugged away for emergencies. Anyway, who told you that we was broke?
Dave.
You don't want to take any notice of him. He's only my financial advisor. What does he know?
Yeah, I think that's weird that doesn't get a laugh as well.
Yeah.
And I've got to say, I also love the fact that Del doesn't even flinch when Trigger calls him Dave, and he just accepts that he's talking about Rodney.
Yeah, that's another thing, because like now we could fast forward and say we haven't really mentioned much about the Dave references, but it's so commonplace now, that other people know who Trig means in the casual conversation without a reaction.
Yeah.
But like to me, it's funny that he calls him Dave, and the fact that he says, like, oh, you know, he's only the financial advisor. Again,
he's only the person in charge of
yeah.
money. You don't listen to him. Yeah, exactly. I feel like, again, that might be playing into what I said earlier about this first scene being a bit of a slow scene.
Yeah.
And maybe even the audience were feeling a bit sluggish. Maybe that's why they didn't laugh. I don't know. Could be.
I agree that I do. Yeah, like I said earlier, I do think it is a bit slow. So maybe they were just, the vibes weren't there at this moment with the audience, and they didn't catch on to the because he said, so Del says like what he always says, which is always got a little bit pugged away. Which I feel like is going to be in your notes about how you always like note that Del always says he has money pugged away.
Yeah.
Because we've seen them do this a lot of times, like Losing Streak, One Door Closes is an example of a time when they're in such a desperate situation that Del doesn't say that. And there's also Hole in One as well.
I was going to say, I feel like this is something that John Sullivan had to put in as like a default situation, that Del will always have a little bit of money, because think about it, right? Like, if their situation really was this dire so often, they definitely would have been kicked out of the council flat by now.
But that's the thing,
Like,
it does happen in this series that Del gets to the desperation point where he says he's about to be evicted.
yeah, he does. But again, like, we also know that they sell things, like, you know, in Cash and Curry, when they get desperate, they just sell things and then they get more things and they sell them again. Like, they're never at the point. And I feel like as viewers, we're never meant to think that they are actually going to be like homeless. You know, I feel like it's never going to come to that, because Del will always find a way to make some money or make a deal. And even if he doesn't have like cash pugged away, he's got something, you know, in the pipeline that he could sell for money, or something he could do to get money.
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of the premise of the show, because I feel like if we really did believe that Del and Rodney could be, you know, evicted and are homeless on the streets and stuff if they made the wrong deals, maybe we'd feel a bit more concerned for the characters every time they get in a hole.
I do think that makes the beginning of Sickness and Wealth a lot more ominous than some of the others. I mean, I really do think, like I just mentioned, Hole in One, that causes Albert to do something pretty dramatic. And then as One Door Closes, they run away and sit by their mom's graveside. Like, there are times when I don't actually think Del has something planned. Yes, he can probably find something to sell, but he's like in a situation where he doesn't know what he's going to do. And you can see that John Sullivan decided to make Del ill in Sickness and Wealth, like his stress and his worry over the financial situation. So yeah, I think a lot of the time it's treated very lightheartedly, but there are times when it's treated more seriously. But yeah, he mentions here that he has some pugged away, and obviously we find out in the next scene that Rodney doesn't know anything about this money, so it seems a little bit sneaky of Del to do that.
Yeah, that's quite sneaky, but I don't know, I think like I'm not married, but if I were to look at their like partnership as a marriage, I would always want to have some of my own money put aside as well, for just in case.
Yeah.
But that's because I don't trust anyone.
Yeah, and that's why you're not married.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I have cats.
Well, you don't know, but your cats have got money pugged away. You don't know about. Okay, so let's move on. So the description of Arnie from the script is: he is in his late 40s, he is smartly dressed and speaks with a middle-of-the-road accent. It is neither refined nor rough. It's the kind of accent that the manager of your local B&Q would have. Arnie is a friendly and genuine sort of person, a real solid bloke. He has a gentle and generous nature and seems relaxed and at one with the world. He is the kind of bloke that anyone would get along with and trust.
I think they cast him very well.
Yeah, they did. I mean, he definitely embodies that description. And also, yeah, like the most important thing about Arnie is that not just the characters trust him, but the audience believes that he's genuine too.
True.
Because the whole like tension of this plot building kind of relies on us actually thinking something bad has happened to Arnie and that he's not a villain in any way. So
it's so difficult, isn't it, watching an episode like this when you know it so well and you know right from the start. But like, I can't remember when I watched this and I didn't know. Like, I would have been so young when I first saw this. I don't even remember what my reaction was to Arnie being a crook.
I don't think that I remember watching it thinking Arnie was not a crook, but I also don't think I understood the episode properly when I was a kid. I thought it was funny, but I didn't understand the plot, I don't think. So
Yeah.
I probably didn't understand the business deal. That's the thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, like you just said, I think we see all of that coming through. He is instantly relaxed when he's around Del. He doesn't seem to be trying it on. It doesn't seem like a sales pitch at all. And Del is not really pretending to be of higher class or acting different either. So that gives us, the audience, the impression that Arnie is actually a trustworthy person and that Del is not intimidated by him. So they seem on the same level of,
Yeah,
kind of,
I agree.
they could actually be friends, which I think is pretty cool. Del isn't planning on potentially causing any bad blood, and he offers to second Arnie's membership application for the 111 Club, which I think is quite nice. It kind of almost indicates to us that maybe Arnie is going to be in it again, like, I think, in a way.
Yeah, true.
Maybe he's a new side character or something.
Yeah.
So now we cut away from this conversation and we're introduced to Otto, the very aggressive doorman, played by Mick Oliver. And I couldn't find much about him other than that he's been in a few other TV shows, including 4 episodes of The Bill in the early 90s. And here he is talking to a character that he refers to as Mr. Grayson. And he was played by Peter Rutherford. A little more to go on with him. Still smaller parts mostly, but he was in Minder and The Professionals, which are 2 shows that we've discussed here on the podcast before.
Yeah.
But sadly, he died in 1995 at just the age of 58. So we see Otto is very friendly to him, but then he chucks his jacket away immediately, which always makes me laugh so much. I don't know why.
Well, customer service.
Yeah.
What's it like having to deal with the members of the public? Yeah, that sort of job, being a doorman for like a Ponzi place, must be so difficult because you would have to be super polite to all these rich people. And then, yeah, I'd probably be exactly like Otto if I was working in a place like that.
I think it gives the impression that the club is acting very formal, but it's actually quite a rough place. Like, so
I had a note about that, about the fact that the place does seem very yuppie. Like I mentioned, that sort of Boise would go there. But the thing that I find quite interesting is there's not really any yuppie jokes in this whole episode. It's like we've forgotten about the yuppie thing by this point. Obviously, it's mentioned a lot in Yuppie Love. It's mentioned a lot in Danger UXD, but it's not really mentioned at all in this episode, which is quite interesting because this would be a perfect opportunity to mention it, given that the place is quite yuppie looking.
I don't think that the casino is. Like I said, I think from the description of the casino in the script, it's making it sound like it's more of a rough place. But I think because we haven't seen them in the setting yet, I think we think, oh, the casino, that's fancy. And Del's wearing the tux that he wears for fancier occasions. But I think this actually isn't like a very posh casino. I think it's a pretty rough casino.
Well, I suppose if they let anyone in, I mean, they let Arnie in without having a membership, but technically it's members only. So, and yeah, the fact that everyone is dressed in quite nice attire to go in there, like I guess they've got a dress code. I mean, yes, the area that they live in is not an upmarket place. So if it's in that area, maybe not. But then this Peckham is becoming very trendy, as Del says in Yuppie Love. So
I think it's not the fanciest casino. It's still a casino, so it still has those rules.
Yeah.
That's all I think. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I mean, I think when Cassandra comes, because she's coming now, it feels a little bit more like a nicer, warmer place, that like you could bring your girlfriend to introduce the family. So I think it gives us the vibe that it's a nice place. Yeah. Because Cassandra's outfit. So yeah, so Dave and Cassandra appear around the corner, and Rodney confidently walks in, but Otto grabs him from behind. And here Trig comes to the rescue. We get a wonderful reminder of how Del always has the right people on his side.
Come on, I'm a member. I've been a member for about 5 years or so.
I'm afraid I shall have to ask you to leave, sir. Where would you like to land?
Come on. What's the...
Oh, it's all right, Otto. It's Del Boy's brother.
Is that right?
Yeah, honest.
Oh, all right then. In that case, have a nice evening, sir.
Poor Rodney in this moment.
How did Otto not know? Because again, this always baffles me. Whenever anyone sort of points out that Rodney's associated with Del, I can't believe, considering how well known Del is, that they wouldn't know who Rodney was.
Yeah, it's true. This is just for the joke, isn't it? I feel really sorry for Rodney in this moment because Cassandra just looks so shocked, and poor Rodney's just trying to be like, yeah, I'll bring you down to meet my family, and ends up getting attacked by the doorman. So yeah,
it's a good thing that Del didn't see Otto doing that, or he would have proper kicked off.
Yeah, right. So I don't know if I mentioned this earlier or not, but these were Gwyneth Strong's first studio scenes that she filmed, along with her later scene in the Nag's Head in this episode. So Gwyneth would have been about 29 at this time, and she'd been watching the show for years. She said that her first memories of wandering around the set of the pub and the Trotter flat were very special. Like, can you imagine like watching a TV show and then getting to go? She said it felt very strange to be on a job where she had watched and loved like the show with her family over the years. So I think it'd be pretty interesting to do that, to like watch a show and then suddenly you're just on the set, part of the family.
I mean, I guess I had a tiny little, not a real experience, but I did go to Warner Brothers Studios and I got to sit in the Friends set, which I don't know if it's the real one. Probably not the real one. Probably more of a manufactured one. I'm actually not sure, but that was pretty cool to sit in the set that was made.
Yeah, honestly, anytime you do, because like we've been to like Universal Studios and stuff as well, right? And like when you actually see the set, I mean, if anything, the biggest thing that always shocks you is how much of a set it looks like. That sounds like a very obvious thing to say, but like when you watch something on a screen, you know it's a set, but it doesn't feel like one. But then like when you go into actually a place where something was shot and you see all of, like for me, going down Wisteria Lane was pretty like surreal because like I watched Desperate Housewives. It's so funny because it is like a real street. It's like a real street. I mean, it is a street, but it's in a studio.
It is a
it's
street,
like,
but it's yeah.
It's like it's weird.
It's true. I was gonna say, didn't we have the sets of the flat at least in the background when we went to that convention, when we went to Memorabilia in Birmingham and we met Marley and Boise and Trigger?
Yeah, but that was just a
Sid.
recreation. That wasn't the set.
Yeah, no, I'm just wondering if any of the items maybe were like from the set. I don't know, but I thought that was a pretty good approximation. Those are the only 4 people we've met from Any Fools and Horses.
But I don't think that. Yeah, I think that was just like a thing that they always do. That if you look at a lot of people's pictures, they always have like the set to have photos taken in. So it's not like anything from the real set. I think it's just a recreation.
Well, that's the closest we ever got to being in the Only Fools and Horses set, anyway.
Yeah, NEC in Birmingham. Yeah. So now we cut to Del and Arnie finishing up a group joke, which I cannot imagine what the beginning of it must have been. Del cuts away and he comes over to meet his future sister-in-law.
Hello, 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 hello.
Oh, Cassandra, this is my brother Derek. And Del, this is Cassandra.
Hello, Cassandra. Very pleased to meet you. Rodney has told me all about you. Don't worry, I'll try not to shout it all about.
That's very kind of you, Derek.
Yeah.
Rodney's told me all about you as well.
Oh.
Although I must admit I didn't believe him until now.
Cassandra can be very catty.
It's not catty. I think it's the deliberate sort of sarcastic, fun way that John Sullivan deliberately wrote Cassandra. We talked about that in Yuppie Love, remember? It's like she's supposed to be able to hold her own like with everybody and not be like just a little sweetheart on the side. She's supposed to be kind of sarcastic and dry.
Well, I know Del definitely takes it that way. He was like, oh, great. You know, she's able to sort of, you know, make fun. And yeah, that's absolutely how you could take it. I'm not sure I'd take it that way if someone said that to me when they met me.
I think that's how she's meant to be written. But yeah, I mean, it is actually pretty interesting because like we said in Danger UXD, she's enthusiastic to meet Del. In Danger UXD, and in this episode she still loves Del. She's like, I think he's lovely and everything.
I know.
Come the next episode is an absolutely major Cassandra and Del relationship development episode, which really sets the tone for the future.
Yes, but understandable in the next episode.
They have so much screen time together in the next episode, so you forget that these are back to back, this tiny little interaction where she's never met him, and then the next episode Del and Cassandra, massive interactions. So
I mean, technically you met her in Yuppie Love. Who's the tart?
He did, yeah, and it's funny that she didn't hear that and remember that. All he had to do was Rodney give that example, and then maybe Cassandra wouldn't have been so excited to meet him. But oh, you remember my brother yelled across the street, "Who's the tart?" when I first met you. Cassandra orders just a Coke here, and then Rodney orders a non-alcoholic lager top. So do we think he's not drinking here to make a good impression on Cassandra?
Yes, probably.
He's definitely on his best behaviour tonight.
That's probably why it comes such a shock to her later when he becomes like full-on binge drinking all the time.
But you can't hide who you really are, so don't drink on the first couple of dates, get married, and then just start drinking. And I hear you've been drinking heavily.
Exactly.
So now the scene cuts to late that evening, and Del is asking Cassandra about her line of work. And this is the first mention of the bank. And I put this in capitalized because the bank is almost like a character in the future. It's such a massive part of what happens in their relationship. So this is the first.
And it's personified by Stephen, isn't it, in later episodes?
Later episodes, yeah. So Stephen comes along and becomes like the actual, human representation
the
of
embodiment
all
of
the bank. And the bank is something that Rodney just starts off by liking, you know. He's like, oh, you've got a good job in a bank, he says in the next episode. But like in the end, the bank well, in the very end, the bank comes full circle and it's an important part of their earnings. But Cassandra's career, I guess, is the monster that Rodney can't get on board with. So, but we do learn here that basically Del lets us know that she says she works in overseas investments. I don't know if that really comes back in the future because I know she changes jobs and stuff. But Del here asks her about her father, and she says that he owns his own business.
No, there was no silver spoon involved. He used to live on a council estate around this area.
Oh, really? Oh, perhaps I know him.
Good.
Oh, no, what's his name?
Parry. Alan Parry.
Parry, yes. A little fella, one brown eye, one blue eye, talks with a squint, walks with a stutter. That's it.
So yeah, that actually, I think we talked about earlier, that doesn't fit the description of Alan. And I don't know if it matters at all. It could almost be a joke again, like sarcastic. I think a lot of fans point this out as being a mistake.
Well, I guess they were planning to. They must have cast him already because he's in Little Problems, which is was already being filmed at the time. So yeah, it is interesting they put that in with knowing that they must have known who the actor was by this point who was playing him.
So yeah, if you look at the filming schedule, they might not have cast him by this point, but they probably had. Because the only note I had that I wrote down the other day when I was finishing up some of the later scripts for this series is that John Sullivan had actually written Alan and Pam to be in Sickness and Wealth, and they ran out of time to put them in Sickness and Wealth, so they had them only in Little Problems. But yeah, these studio recordings were all shot week after week, so yeah, if they hadn't cast him by now, they would have had like less than 2 weeks to have him cast before they filmed Sickness and Wealth, which is believable because we know everything was done on a tight schedule.
True.
So I always just put this down to being a joke. And another thing is that Alan apparently knew Del from the council estate, but it almost seems like they are meeting for the first time, right? In Sickness and Wealth?
Yeah, I mean, it is possible that he had a reputation and Del actually never met him. I mean, a lot of people seem to know Del but haven't met him. You know, he's notorious. So maybe there was an element of that. Could be. Yeah,
it's true. And there's absolutely no reason why you couldn't believe they had known each other in the past with the way they talk to each other in Little Problems, because it's not like they're like formal or anything. They're very casual. So, yeah.
Well, similar backgrounds, I suppose, as well.
Yeah. So, but I'm just saying, because a lot of people point this out as a mistake on goofs and stuff, which I don't think it's a mistake. I think it's just like how you interpret it. So the only thing that fits here is the fact that Alan doesn't seem to be like elitist like his wife Pam. That's the only note I wrote here, because we know later that Pam is pretty snobby and elitist, and unless
she gets drunk.
Yeah. Take your time, Pam. I've got to christen the baby first. But one thing that I think is really great, it was such a great idea of John Sullivan's to write Alan as a down-to-earth council estate guy.
I agree.
Because he is a really great bridging character between Cassandra's slightly better upbringing, I guess, and Rodney's family and history. And the fact that he hangs out with all of them, goes out with them, and he seems to be a very understanding of real problems that people like Del and Rodney have.
Yes.
I think
he goes on the Jolly Boys outing.
Yeah, it was such a great idea of John Sullivan's to do that. I cannot shout that from the rooftops enough. But so Del swoops off out of the conversation, and I'm sure it's just Rodney's natural reflex, but he immediately apologizes for Del, even though at this point Cassandra says he's lovely, which I wrote here. I'm sure she's not feeling by the next episode. But I wonder if Rodney was thinking about a royal flush a little bit here, like we all always are. And he's worried that Del's going to screw this up, because this is a very serious, important moment for Rodney, because he is serious about Cassandra.
Yes.
And introducing him to his date, who is actually serious, to Del is a pretty massive thing in Rodney's life. So
I agree. After a royal flush, I would probably never introduce Del to one of my dates ever again.
Yeah. Right. So Del rejoins Arnie and Trigger in the gaming area, and this is where we learn a little bit more about Arnie. So while Del is inquiring about his early retirement, he finds out the reason. Arnie says that he keeled over.
Sorry, Arlie?
Does it really matter? You ruined my
You
ruined my train of thought.
You called him Arlie.
So what? Arnie says he keeled over and the doctor gave him 6 months to live. Here is a funny exchange between Del and Trigger.
You don't want to take too much notice of these doctors, Arnie. They'll say anything to get rid of you.
It's private. Now, you take that Georgie Collis. I mean, they only gave him 6 months to live. He was gutted, wasn't he, Trick?
Well upset.
Yeah, then they discovered, of course, that they'd only mixed up his records with another bloke's.
Yeah, but the other bloke only had 3 months to live.
This is such a great moment.
Oh, God.
I'm just here to say that
Definitely.
it's very true that medical records get mixed up all the time, so you got to be careful. I was just thinking of that moment in Scrubs when they're running through the hallway. No. No, wait, that's Elliot. It's not Elliot.
Yeah, Elliot's running through the hallway to tell her that she's not pregnant while she's confessing that she cheated on her husband on the phone.
Arnie starts planting the seeds about how unhealthy the alcohol and cigarettes are, and it gives Del and Trigger a little food for thought. Rodney comes over and Del just orders a mineral water. So this is where we learn that Rodney also seems to know Arnie. So there's already that little bit of history built up there. So Trigger leaves and Del and Arnie are left alone to continue the discussion. And they wander through the casino. And I thought, this is the first time we've really seen studio shots like this. And it's quite cool. It looks realistic. The way the camera follows them through the set, like weaving through the casino. So I think that's a pretty interesting new kind of shot that we haven't seen before. And Arnie is telling Del how chill his life is now. And maybe makes an error letting Del know about Pat, Gary, and Stephen, because this is how he actually figures out the plot at the end.
Yeah.
So I would have thought maybe he might have wanted to keep that to himself. But, you know, from our point of view at this point as the audience, we think, oh, like, nice family man. And again, maybe is this
or at
guy...
least give them fake names for the
Yeah.
sons. I mean, I think they actually are their names.
They are their name, yeah. That's the thing. So here it slips up, I guess, a little bit as a con man, but... You know, we don't know that at this point. So this moment at the bar when he sings is really funny. I had to put this little bit in because it's Rodney's reaction and the way that Del kind of looks at him when Arnie says,
And I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Every time I see that clip, all I can think of is, how am I supposed to convince them my granddad was Louis Armstrong?
I know, I wrote that here. I was like, another Louis Armstrong reference. Yeah. I've definitely been out with people, though, that have done stuff like that, and I've been like, oh my God.
I know, you've been out with me.
Yeah, I know. So many times, yeah.
The amount of times that I go out with my friends and like, oh my God, would you not in public please do that?
Yeah.
And I laugh or I'm saying something really offensive at the top of my voice.
But anyway, here at the end, Del finally quietly asks Arnie if he still does a bit on the side, and we see here that Arnie is kind of ready for this. It's almost like they've been flirting and now they're finally coming to the end of it. He's like, yeah, okay, so he knows all the questions to ask, make sure that Del's ethics are fairly loose, he's in the right line of work, and I think we have to assume he has done this many times by now. And they agree that they will meet in the back of the car park in an hour's time, and the scene fades out. So, dude, what notes do you have on this first scene in the casino, apart from thinking it's too slow?
So I'm going to deliver these notes as slowly as the scene. No, I'm not joking. First of all, I just want to say this is our first ever visit to a casino in Hills and Horses, but not the last. I don't know if you did mention that, but I'll just mention it again if you did. I just want to reiterate about the fact that Trigger swaps those cards out right in front of that woman. Like, there's literally no way she wouldn't have seen it. Plus the fact that he's got this bright blue suit on, which automatically you would notice if that was moving. But for the joke, it's great. And I also really love the line that Otto says.
If you give me 20 quid, I'll let you in free.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I just think that's a nice little note. And I said it's interesting because I mentioned the lighting earlier in the studio. This also has this smoky effect in the room as well, especially towards the end. I know they're all smoking in the room, but I just wonder if that was done with the smoke machine, because usually when you're in a studio, at least nowadays, if you wanted it to look smoky, you'd have to do it with an effect, because a lot of the time you're not allowed to use real cigarettes on sets because of the fire hazard, obviously. So yeah, I just wonder how that was achieved. And then I just mentioned that if this had been a 30-minute episode, I think this scene would have established everything much faster. But I guess the thing in this scene, as you said, is that John Sullivan really took his time to introduce Arnie so that we trusted him, which I guess is important, because if he had been introduced really quickly and we didn't know anything about him, maybe we wouldn't have trusted him or liked him, and we wouldn't have been sort of seeing him through Dal's eyes. And then also, I think it's really good that we got a reasonable introduction for Del and Cassandra, like a reasonable length. Again, if this had been the 30-minute episode, this would have been rushed. So I think, yeah, it's nice to see that. And Arnie talking about the booze and the fags, giving up the booze and the fags, it feels like a bit of a prelude to Sickness and Wealth.
Yeah.
Because that's pretty much what Del is told to do in Sickness and Wealth, which I think is interesting. I love the line.
I do understand that some things have a tendency to, float out of factory windows. I mean, it's just Mother Nature, isn't it? Right?
It just made me think of the Louvre doors when they throw them out the factory window.
Weren't you a tiny bit suspicious?
And I'm actually surprised Del doesn't get into more dodgy situations considering his line of work. I mean, I know this is like the first time I think we see him mention, that he actually feels a bit worried about doing this deal on his own and getting in a car with this guy he doesn't know. But at the same time, Del must have done a million deals like this where he's met with way dodgier guys than Arnie, who are in much dodgier places as well and done deals and exchanged money. So I just think it's really interesting that this is sort of implied to be a unique situation for Del, whereas it must be so common for him to be in this situation, right?
Yeah, you'd think so, yeah. I think they maybe just did that as a way of showing that Del wanted Rodney with him. I don't know. We haven't actually got to that part yet. So.
Yeah. So I just wanted to mention because, the deal's about to happen. So yeah, just that this is something that I think would happen a lot. But that was all I had for that scene.
Well, great. So we'll cut to the outside of the 111 Club, the car park scene now. And these scenes were recorded on day 9 of the location shooting, which was Monday, the 14th of November, 1988. So Del is in his long camel hair coat now, and Cassandra and Rodney come down the steps. Cassandra has a new coat now. That's probably because Rodney took hers and stretched it out at the end of Yuppie Love. I was going to say that you mentioned this earlier, but yeah, Chain Gang does not have the very many or any yuppie references with Del and the Gordon Gekko look, whereas the first 2 episodes were very much focused on that. Yeah. And I know that I noted this for the next episode for Unlucky Winner is that Del goes back to wearing his sheepskin coat in that episode. So yeah, there's a little bit of a jumping around with the image stuff here. But yeah, I think his long camel hair coat over the tux looks quite formal. So Rodney's trying to get a lift home with Cassandra, but Del wants him to stay for the business deal. Now this is a classic Trotter moment. Del did not show it in the club, but he is nervous to be left alone in the dark car park, like you just noted. So I'm thinking that the beginning has a few parallels to Cash and Curry, Del in the tux, the car park, the nervous energy. And I think we mentioned this all the way back in Cash and Curry. So yeah, there's a few little parallels that Cash and Curry, in fact, we mentioned it earlier in this episode.
Yeah, these are the 2 con episodes. Yeah. Like we don't know what's going on and then it's a reveal at the end that they're being conned. Yeah.
So Rodney is not happy. He wanted to
say goodnight to Cassandra.
He storms over and gets into the car with Cassandra, and he lies and says that Del is too drunk to drive home, but clearly he just wants a goodnight kiss, which Del is watching. Now, did you hear what Cassandra says at the end of the kiss as she's pulling away? Because it's drowned out, I think. It's in the script, though.
It is drowned out. I always thought she just said, like, oh, slow down, Rodney, or something like that.
Yeah, so she says, hands, Rodney.
Hands, Rodney. No, I didn't know she said that. That's so funny.
So we do learn in The Unlucky Winner is that they haven't slept together yet.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I thought that because I don't know. Well, I thought, well, you know what? Never mind what I thought. Which episode is that from?
Oh, God. It's a later one, isn't it?
Del's like, I thought, well, never mind what I thought.
Well, I thought... Oh, is it? No, Del. You don't think. You never think.
No, it's not. It's about sex. It's something when Del's like, I thought, and then someone looks at him and he's like, well, never mind what I thought. I guess this is like trying to lay the groundwork for a more serious relationship, as in they took their time over it. Yeah, so that's nice. So we see here, again, you mentioned this in Yuppie Love, Rodney tries to make it a bit more of a kiss than it is, and Cassandra is being a little bit more, putting the brakes on a little bit. And so, yeah, she says, hands, Rodney. I always just wasn't sure what she said until I saw the script.
No,
so
I never knew what she said. That's interesting. I also just want to say as well, I just thought of this. It's interesting because that's how John Sullivan also establishes that Raquel and Del are serious.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have them sleep together right away, and they take their time. So it's interesting. That must be in John Sullivan's mind like the mark of a serious relationship.
I actually think it's his way of saying this woman isn't a tart, which I think is not, obviously it's not a very progressive way of thinking in this day and age. He's sort of saying...
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. I said for him, it must be that's how he sort of viewed it. When you're serious about someone, you don't have sex with them right away.
Right.
Yeah.
And I just remembered where the quote's from. It's from Fatal Extraction when Cassandra's on the phone doing the exercises and Dell's like, I thought, and then he's like, oh, never mind what I thought.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, before he leaves the car, Rodney invites Cassandra for dinner. And here is where she lets us know that she's going on the week's training course. Now, again, written in the 80s and different times, so not particularly a very progressive attitude, I guess, here from Rodney. So Cassandra says,
if you fancy flying over to Guernsey, I'd love to have dinner with you.
Guernsey? You got to go all the way over to Guernsey?
Yes. I did ask Guernsey if it would like to come to me, but it refused point blank.
So here... This is a big moment in Rodney's character. His reaction here to her going on a week's training course is the very beginning of all of his most awful behavior surrounding Cassandra's career.
Yeah.
We can assume that they've been dating for like a month at this point. They haven't slept together yet. It seems kind of crazy that he's upset that she's going on a trip for work for 1 week. And he kind of assumes that she's going to sleep around or cheat on her.
I agree.
So what do you think? I mean, I pulled out some lines.
I mean, it's Rodney's jealousy, isn't it? Like, obviously, he knows Cassandra's a good catch for him, and he obviously likes her a lot at this point. Well, I love you, and I. I think obviously, things are going really well, and Rodney doesn't ever get this far in relationships. Like we've heard of all of Dell's past relationships and engagements, but we've never heard of Rodney ever getting this serious with anybody.
Yeah.
So I think that this is probably, again, Rodney, if I had to psychoanalyze Rodney's behavior, I would say it's because he was abandoned.
Yeah.
Or it feels like he was abandoned by his mother when he was younger. And that's probably something that has stuck with him. Obviously, his dad abandoned him. So, in that sense, it's understandable that he wants to spend as much time as he can. And he worries that he'll lose her the second that she's away from him, because she'll realize, he's not as good as she thinks. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah,
she'll realize that he's not very good actually, and she can do better. Like, this is probably what he thinks. And this is, again, I think a lot of the time when he's angry about the bank in later episodes, it's because he sees all those people that she mingles with as being very different to him and more like her. And I mean, if I was Rodney, I'd probably feel a bit threatened too. Cassandra is maybe a bit more upper class than Rodney is, I guess. So she certainly comes from a sort of more wealthy background, and she works in a bank, something that Rodney would never be able to do. So I think, well, he probably could, but I mean, he would never aspire to do that. So I think that might be, again, I'm not justifying how he treats her. I don't think it's right, and it definitely gets worse later, but yeah, that's what I would think it comes from.
Yeah, I mean, this gets explored a lot more later, and especially the mom side of things, like where Cassandra kind of accuses him in Rodney Come Home of needing just another mother and not wanting like a career woman like she is. But we see, from Cassandra's point of view, there were warning signs of this in the very early days of your dating. She wants to go on a 1 week trip. She doesn't even consider that you might be upset about it. So this shows that his immaturity coming through a little bit.
Well, again, this is the problem though, isn't it? Like when you're in the early days of a relationship and someone says something like that to you, like, oh, I miss you go, oh, that's so nice. But then when you're married to someone who does that sort of thing every time you want to go off and do your own thing, it can become a huge problem. But
it's important to note here that the script had lines in it that were not, I don't know whether they were filmed. I assume they were filmed, and they were cut probably because it shows that Cassandra actually gets a bit angry here with Rodney for his reaction. Oh. So the line in the script says, Rodney asks, why do you have to go to Guernsey? And Cassandra says, because, God, watch my lips closely. That's where the training course is being held. Have you got some problem with this? That's in the script. And Rodney just says, no, it's just Guernsey. I don't know really what that means.
Maybe that was a joke about Guernsey.
So on that note, Guernsey is one of the Channel Islands near Jersey. Do you remember Play.com? Used to be based in Jersey.
Oh my God, Play.com. We used to get a lot of DVDs back in the day. Yes, I do.
But Rodney is actually quite right when he says that some perfectly state and boring people do lose their minds when they go away for work trips. Because I've actually been on some of these like really boring conventions over here in the UK, in the US, where people are very formal during the day, and then at night they lose their shit. Yeah. My husband and I went on a trip to Chicago where we saw some of the like pharmacist people running through the fountains at night while they were still wearing their badges from the conventions. We always remember that. We thought it was really funny.
It's the Bandcamp phenomenon, isn't it?
Yeah.
The people that seem the most innocent and the most boring are the ones you got to watch.
But I only saw that drunken, rowdy behavior. No orgies. Not that I know. That's what Rodney is kind of implying here. Yeah, that there's going to be like a big
Well, he doesn't imply it. He says there'll be orgies.
Yeah, that's right. He does. He implies it by saying it exactly as it is. So then it comes full circle, and I think Rodney feels guilty because it shows that Cassandra can talk him down, which I think is an important part of their relationship. You know, it's good for him that has somebody like Cassandra to put him in his place and not just be like, okay, I'm sorry, I won't go then if you're upset about it.
Yeah, it's a shame she doesn't have more of that character trait later.
Yeah, but in this case, she even gets Rodney to laugh and apologize when she says,
I mean, I'll take my whip just in case.
I'll phone you.
I'll phone you as well.
Better make sure we don't phone at the same time, otherwise we'll both be engaged.
I've had a few of those moments in my life when you've got this like atmosphere cutting moment when you both say something and then it's like, you can feel it in the air. It's that tension. It's great.
So as you mentioned here, they start coughing while they say I love you for the first time. Adele's cigar, I guess, ruining it.
Yes.
But I actually think it's quite clever. I know it's supposed to just be a joke, but it's actually quite clever that they're going to say I love you maybe for the first time on camera, and Del ruins it by smoking. It's kind of like he's sneaking in through the window to be part of their relationship, which is quite funny.
I just put Del cock blocks Rodney with a cigar. On paper, that sounds a bit strange, I know, but you get what I mean.
Yeah, so this kind of, the fact that it's taking us such a long time to record these first two scenes, I think is telling about how you said so much happens. It's quite long and somewhat slow developing story in these first few scenes, but we're going to cut back to the main storyline now, and Del and Rodney go to the car to meet Arnie, and as they head across the car park, Arnie kind of ominously tells them to
Hop in the back.
Go on, get in the back, Rodney. Go on, get in the back.
Del seems pretty nervous here, and Rodney is definitely his grounding force, which is quite sweet. And they both scoot onto the back seat, and Arnie hands them the black suitcase.
Gee. What'd you do, mug Mr. T?
This is a reference to Mr. T, the actor who played B.A. Baracus in the A-Team, who wore lots of gold jewelry, just in case anybody didn't know that. And I didn't know that when I was a kid.
No, when I was a kid, I didn't know Mr. But there was literally references to Mr. T in everything we watched when we were kids, and we didn't know who he was. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of references to him. So I guess it must have been on TV a lot in the 80s. I never watched the A-Team until I was a little bit older, but yeah, like...
I've never watched it, but I still know who Mr. T is.
I also thought Mr. T was the name of the character, but that's his actual name. His character is B.A. Baracus.
Yeah, I know, like, his cameo in The Simpsons. That was where I think I first saw it. Huge Simpsons fan that I am.
So Arnie explains that the chains are worth about 200 quid each retail, and the case is worth £50,000. So he got them for a client, Mr. Stavros, who vanished after Arnie acquired the goods. So Rodney tries to be level-headed here, and he gets laughed off when he says,
You could sue him for breach of contract.
Listen to it, will ya?
Son, there's no contract between friends. It's a man's word, handshake, gentleman's agreement. Anyway, Mr. Stavros is not the sort of man you'd want to sue.
So Del is nodding along at Rodney as Arnie is speaking, which kind of shows that Del is trying to be like, yeah, I know what Arnie's talking about. Which he does. He does. I mean, he does know.
Yeah, he does.
Del is
we know that
savvy.
Rodney's never been that savvy. Yeah.
Rodney's logical kind of side doesn't always work for him in these kind of back car park business deals. So yeah, this is more Del's territory. So Arnie says he can't wait any longer. He has to let them go at half the wholesale price of just 50 quid each. So Stavros was going to pay him 25 grand, and now he's going to sell the chains to them for 12.5 grand. So it's going to sound like a really good deal. Del doesn't jump at the chance immediately. We, the audience, know that this is a much higher price than he is used to paying. Whether Arnie knows that or not about Del, we know Del doesn't normally lay out 12.5 grand. So after establishing the catch that they didn't pay VAT, Del is happy, and he says,
Oh, yeah, I'll take two.
Two?
Oh, all right. Oh, 3.
I'm not running a corner shop, Del. I'm a dealer. Buy and sell jewellery in bulk. A whole lot or none at all.
What's that from? 2? It is from a show, isn't it, when he says 2?
So I used in 2013 dollars.com for this information. The inflation data says that 200 quid in 1989 would be worth £635 today. So 50 quid each would be the equivalent of £158 now. So the 12.5 grand would be almost 40 grand today. So that is a lot of money for Del to find. Imagine if you had a great opportunity, but you had to find 40 grand. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, that is a lot of money.
Arnie convinces him by saying,
You sell those around the pubs and the clubs. The worst you do is double your money.
I'll take them.
12,500.
it's probably important to note here that Del gets a surveyor's report, which is the first time we've ever seen him say something like that. Subject to
Sorry,
survey.
dude. I have to interject. I've just remembered what 2 is from. Charlie Bucket. How many did you consume?
2.
2. 2? I can't work out just 2.
Why can't he? He's a maths teacher. What's wrong with him?
Because it's meant to show, isn't it, how dumb he is as a teacher.
So let's pretend you know 200.
No, not 200. Just 2. 2? Sorry.
Tangent.
It was bugging me. I couldn't have continued without remembering what it was from.
It's okay. So yeah, this is the first time we ever see Del get any kind of formality done, a surveyor's report. So again, from the audience's point of view, this seems so legit. He's going to get actually a valuation on the goods. So
yeah,
pretty good setup here because we don't think it's going to be a con. So Rodney demands to know where Del is going to get this 12,500 pat. And here, Del first gets the idea for the consortium. But he's not happy to find out that Del has a bleeding ostrich egg of 4 grand, which he's been keeping out of their partnership. And this explains why Rodney is not really included in the deal, because the money doesn't belong to Trotters independent traders. It's Del's money. So Rodney doesn't have any money to invest, which is important. So the scene ends out with a fade-out argument as Rodney is like storming across the car park. And we do hear a little...
Don't talk to me.
Mom said to me on her deathbed. So that's the end of that's the end of the scene. What notes do you have from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory? I mean, from the scene.
Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, dude.
Oh,
Charlie
right.
and the Chocolate Factory is the terrible Tim Burton remake. So I think it's the first time that we ever hear Del needing backup from Rodney on a deal. But as you said, I think it's just a ruse to get him away from Cassandra. I think it's really interesting that Rodney lies to Cassandra that Del is drunk. I feel like it's his attempt to get sympathy from Cassandra. And I feel like he does this other times as well in the future when he's like trying to sort of like, oh yeah, you know, this is going on and this isn't. She's like, oh, you poor thing. Like, obviously that works really well for Rodney. And I love the line.
She had her head in your mouth at one point.
So, I've got a tickle in my throat.
Well, she's probably got her wig stuck in it.
These lines I particularly liked when I was young as well.
Me too.
I think Arnie is also taking a huge risk here, right? Not just Del. He's getting into a car with a suitcase, something very easily stealable, and I don't think he's got his chain on to his wrist in the scene. Not that I noticed. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure he just passes it back to them in the back of the car. What is to stop Del or Rodney punching him in the face and one of them running off with the gold? Like, honestly, that is such a dangerous situation for Arnie just as much as it is for them. So, and because there's 2 of them, like if I was Arnie, I'd want someone else with me as well. So there's 2 of them and 2 of me. I just thought about that when I was watching it. I never thought about that before. And this whole ruse as to why Arnie has to sell them for half price would be very suspicious to me. This is the first like big red flag I would have if I was them, because I think, okay, so this guy is going to lose like the equivalent of 12.5 grand, right? So why wouldn't he just find someone else who was like Mr. Stavros who'd pay a little bit more? Like, why has he got to sell? I know like the VAT and all that stuff, and it's like attempted to be explained later why they can go for like so cheap, but surely Arnie could sell them for a bit more than that. Well, I don't know. It just feels like there's something a bit like, again, if I were Del or Rodney, I would be like, this feels a bit too cheap. again, something's too good to be true, right? This is the saying. So I don't know. Del just seems like he'd be too savvy to fall for something like this. So I don't know. Just seems a bit, yeah, I don't know. Maybe, but obviously hindsight, because I know how the story turns out. But yeah, there is that. And then the other thing I wanted to ask is about them being potless. How can they afford food and rent? I mean, if they really are on the bones of their backside, as we've seen them so many times, I guess Albert's pension is paying for food and rent at the moment.
Well, I always think that when they talk about when they are potless or whatever, or the firm is broke, they're just talking about they don't have any money to buy any new stock. I always feel like they have like a month's worth of food and bills and stuff. Yeah. It's not it's not a desperate situation. It's just like not the most affluent that they've been.
Yeah, of course. And yeah, I also said I'd be very angry if I was Rodney finding out that my partner had 4,000 quid like pugged away, which is not a small amount of money to have sort of pugged away to spend on something like this. So yeah, I'd be mad too.
No, because that was a coningit. He always does.
Yeah, he is a coningit. Yeah, he is. You coningit. No. Don't
You could have done the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. So yes, that's all I had.
Okay, so we're going to cut to the first scene in Nelson Mandela flat now. So can you guess what the timestamp here is on this scene change? How far into the episode are we?
We're quite far. I feel like the first scene is quite... I feel like the rest of the episode is very fast-paced.
Yeah.
So I would say probably at least sort of 20 minutes in by the end of that scene.
So we're actually at 19 minutes and 19 seconds. So when you say about the beginning part being more dragged out, it is, because now there's only like 30 minutes left of the episode and everything else happens in the next 30 minutes. So we don't see Albert until now. We see Albert for the first time. Again, if they had tried to do this episode in 30 minutes, it would be like 2/3 over already by this point.
Well, they did. They did it in Cash and Curry, didn't they?
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe Cash and Curry could have been really fleshed out if it had been a 50-minute episode. So
maybe we could have had more of Mr. Ram, the owner.
Terrible echo in here.
I love that guy.
So Albert is counting out some cashola onto the table as a dejected Rodney enters, and he's been at the airport dropping off Cassandra. Albert is super excited now and tells Rodney that Dell and the rest of the consortium went down to the jewelers to get the chains examined. So we learn now that there is Boise, Mike, Trigger, and Albert in the consortium, and Albert has gotten his savings out of the post office. So he lets us know that Rodney is not interested in the deal. So he's the one who lets us know, the audience now, that Rodney's not included. Because he's trying to argue that his ethics is the reason. But I feel like it's not very convincing. It's almost like they wanted to keep Rodney sort of depressed and sidelined in this episode because Cassandra's gone away. Yeah,
and also we know that Rodney doesn't actually really have any ethics when it comes down to it.
No, not really. He only says he does.
He's a virtue signaler. That's what we said.
So Rodney is sulking. Albert asks him why he doesn't just phone Cassandra. Rodney is childish here, and he retorts,
"No way. She was supposed to phone me at 12:30 and look. Nah, she's probably having a drink and a laugh with all them yuppie sorts from the bank.
She might be in bed, Rodney.
Eh?
I mean, sleeping off the jet lag.
Jet lag? She's only gone to Guernsey."
So I did double check. There is no time difference between London and Guernsey.
No. She might be in bed, Rodney. Actually, that's a mention of yuppie.
Yes.
There you go. Rodney just mentioned it. Sorry.
But in the context of Cassandra, yes. So we do get the mention, but we don't see Dell and his Gordon Gekko thing in this episode. So this is when the consortium arrives home. So Dell comes in, and this for me is where the pace really picks up. So it's incredible to see everybody together here in the flat. We've never seen this kind of like social thing in the flat. We only saw the party after, well, the wake, I guess, after Granddad's funeral. It's so nice to see everybody come in. Dell ushers everybody in, start getting the drinks.
We did have Trigger and Mike in T for 3, but they were just bringing Dell back from the hospital.
This is more like a party kind of vibes. And so Boise immediately protests.
I think we should discuss the matter in private before we celebrate. I don't like being premature.
No, Marlene said something about that the other day.
Great Trigger line here. And also we see the Boise and Trigger kind of antagonism continuing, which is such a great part of their characters when they're in the scenes together.
Yeah.
So the consortium wants to usher Arnie into the kitchen so that they can confer. Boise does not trust him alone with the gold. Crazy, considering it's his. And I don't know where he thinks Arnie's going to go with the kitchen.
That's exactly what I wrote. I was like, the only one taking the risk is Arnie if he leaves it in with them, because there's a front door they could just run out of.
Yeah, as it seems like there isn't even a window in the kitchen. So I don't know where Arnie was going to go with the suitcase. But I would think Arnie would be the one who wouldn't want to leave the gold alone with the
Yes,
guys in the
exactly.
room. So. But this is just a really great way to start off Boise's mistrust and paranoia about Arnie and the deal. So it's funny because it's very similar to his paranoid behavior in To Hell and Back. And it's become a character trait of his now. So Arnie's reaction here, I think, reaffirms the fact that he seems to be professional and trustworthy when he handles Boise the way he does. He says,
That's all right, Mr. Boyce. I'd like to keep an eye on it as well. So, if I leave it here, then we can both see it, all right?
Perfect.
I noted here that Del scolds Boise for his behavior. Boise straight away says he doesn't trust Arnie. So he's going to be the foil here. All members of the consortium seem to agree with Del and stick up for Arnie. Boise is the only one who has that intuition. Important to remember, even though Boise, the way Boise handles his intuition is bad, but he was right. So Boise protests a little bit more here until he's satisfied, and they all sit down to put down their money. And I used to love this part when I was a kid. I don't know why, when they all get their money out. Maybe it's because it reminded me of the poker game, or because they're all working together. It's kind of nice, but
Maybe it's because you love money.
I love money, yeah. Boise puts down $7,000. Mike puts in 1,000. Trigger only has £274.50, and I love here how Trig mentions that Aunt Reen here.
My Aunt Reen had to pawn her necklace for that.
And then we get Albert. He only managed to get under £99.26 new p. That's how he calls it. New p.
I know, bless.
So this is less than he expected. So they are short. Yeah. So this gives Rodney the opportunity to come over triumphantly to the table and say,
Not anymore, you're not. You can count me in.
Oh, thank God for the great Gatsby here.
Arnie comes back in, the meeting is over, and the deal is on, and he presents them with the case. So I think this is the most formal business deal we've ever seen Del involved in up to this point. And the suits makes it seem very formal as well, the fact that they're all wearing suits. So here we are, all, as the audience, all wondering what's going to go wrong and when.
So true.
Now, I'm sure that we've discussed this already, but if you are watching as a new viewer and you don't know that Arnie is a con man, you are definitely likely to get wrapped up in the excitement here of them all working together, with Arnie trying to help them figure out the problem. And you think maybe that's the twist, another reason that this episode is so great, right? Because when Arnie starts to have this issue, you think, oh, they're all going to work together to get out of it. You don't think that Arnie is actually conning them.
They're going to stiff him, yeah.
So this is where it all begins to unravel. Arnie says he's going to call his wife Pat. And there seems to be a great atmosphere. They're all joking around when Arnie's on the phone. And Del says here he's probably on a ghoster. Do you have any idea what that meant?
Don't wait up for him, Pat. He's probably on a ghoster.
Shut up. She'll think I'm back on the booze.
I thought that meant that he was avoiding the booze.
Yeah, I don't think I understood. I wrote here that it's the same as ghosting, as in he won't be coming home when Del yells out, to Pat.
I don't think I've really thought about that line before.
See if anybody knows what that means.
Is that what it says in the script? The ghoster?
Yeah, and that's what Del says if you hear it, but it's hard to tell. I don't think I ever knew what he said, but it says in the script, look out, Pat, he's probably on a ghoster. I think it means he's not coming home because he's drinking too much.
Yeah, because he says, she'll think I'm back on the booze.
Yeah. So the conversation turns very dark very quickly. He gets very panicked and tells Pat he can't meet him, no! So he doesn't have the chains anymore.
I was going to say, that would be a bit of a red flag for me as well. The overreaction.
He might have gone a little bit over the top here, yeah, I think.
And in front of all of them as well, because he gets up as though he's going to have some privacy and he just literally goes a meter in that direction where they can all still hear him. I'd be like, this is a bit staged. Also, it didn't have to happen fast. It didn't have to come quick though, didn't it? When he calls Pat and literally, I don't think she had time to explain that Stavros had called before he started going, no, I can't meet him, no. It was like instant, bloody instant, Rodney. Yeah.
This is actually something you might know about as an actress, but like there is a very fine line when you're acting one side of a phone conversation, because you can't leave the real amount of time because it would make it too slow, but you have to not talk too fast. So you have to be able to act the realistic one side without making it shit.
It is hard to do.
And I think he does a pretty good job. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, in this situation, obviously, that he's a con man and everything, and he has to over dramatize it. So they all really think he's like afraid and he has to be, and he's in trouble and they need to help him. I mean, if he'd just been like casual about it and been like, oh, I've sold them already, actually. Sorry. Like, if he'd just been like that, they wouldn't have, bothered to help him. They wouldn't have wanted to look after him, because Del and Rodney especially are the ones that sort of push this to go and help Arnie so that Stavros doesn't get him. So, of course, he had to sound terrified, and obviously adding the whole, like, oh, I have heart attacks easily layer to it as well. But yeah, it is difficult to do the other side of a phone conversation. I'm teaching one of my kids to do it this year, actually, because she has a scene where she's fake talking to someone on the phone. Actually, in this situation, this is someone she's already killed in the play, and she's pretending to have a phone conversation with them for someone else's benefit, similar to this, I guess, actually. But yeah, like, it's that the pauses, having to sound like you're listening to somebody else talking and reacting in real time, it is very difficult for people to do.
Yeah, but I mean, he does it really well. I do think that maybe it's a little bit suspicious, like you said, the fact that he goes so dramatic so quick. But
yeah,
he gets off the phone and he tells them all that Stavros has come back for the chains and, was going to sell them for 25 grand. He's just let them go for 12.5, which is a shame. But it's very important and sensitive now, I realize, for the scam to work, that they figure this out. Like, so Del is like the one that does figure it out, I guess, because Arnie couldn't suggest the plan. Like, it's really important that he lets them suggest it.
It turns out Rodney's is the best suggestion, though, isn't it? Rodney's is the first one. Why don't we sell them back to him for a small profit, of course? If that one had been the one that they'd chosen, then Arnie would have been fucked.
Yeah, it's true. But that's why, I guess, maybe it's implied that Arnie seeks out people like Del, I guess, who are smart enough to figure out that they could sell it for the large profit. Yes. I guess Denzel and his brothers were another easy target. But like,
I was going to say, that to me, if you're running this kind of scam, though, is far too unpredictable.
Yeah, it's a little bit
to go into this scam. I mean, like, what if they were all like Rodney and they were like, just sell them back to Arnie? Like, come on then, like, Arnie, give us an extra 2,000 on what we gave you right now, and then we'll be fine. I mean, it does seem a bit unbelievable to me that if you're running this kind of scam, that wouldn't have happened a couple of times.
Yeah, maybe it did.
I think we mentioned the same with Cash and Curry, that like people would do it the other way around, that instead of selling everything and getting the money, they'd just go and find a statue instead, and that would blow the whole plan out of the water.
Yeah, and I think like the anger that gets brought up here when they find out that they weren't really Arnie's to sell, I guess. I mean, they were his to sell, but the fact that he had a deal already lined up is very reasonable kind of outrage from Mike and Boise, I guess, when they find that out.
Yeah.
I don't care if he redecorates Regent Street with Arnie. This is business. No, I have every sympathy for Arnie's predicament, but at the end of the day, it's a bit like Mike's pub grub. Tough.
I used to love that line so much when I was a kid. Yeah. I think it's because we had Monopoly, right? So we knew what we did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very funny. And it's true that, like, also Arnie gets lucky here that Del and Rodney care whether Arnie gets beat up. Yeah,
you're right. I think he looks for lovable rogues, doesn't he? I guess because you need to have someone that cares. You need to have someone that cares about his welfare, because otherwise they wouldn't go ahead with this.
Yeah, not Boise.
Yeah, exactly.
Boise would have just been like, "Sorry, get the hell out. I've already done the deal," and fair enough. Honestly, yeah, like Boise.
Yeah,
Boise is right. So it actually says it's actually Rodney here that says
He's given to bouts of mindless violence, isn't he?
Very, very nasty.
but I want to know, how does he know that?
I know. It's like, again, from Arnie's point of view, this is smart. It's like he planted a seed when he said before, and Rodney has dadded it, basically.
Yeah.
Like he's, the tiny little bit of information has been taken to its fullest extent the next time that he's brought up. So, yeah, I think that's a clever thing to do, honestly. Yeah, it's like planting a seed that he's not a nice man makes Rodney think of violence. And then Rodney straight away goes to, oh, yeah, he's prone to bouts of violence, isn't he? He's like, I never said that, but you thought that based on what I said earlier.
So we already mentioned Del's plan comes through here, and we get this perfect Del boy interpretation of the situation where he says,
You're missing the most important point of the whole situation. There is a man in London who wants to buy 250 18-carat gold chains from Arnie here. He is willing to pay £25,000 with cash on the hip. But Arnie doesn't have them anymore. We do.
So what are you saying, Del?
So the plan is in place. They're going to sell the chains through Arnie, and to the unsuspecting audience, this plan seems great. And a very quick flip. They would have literally made 12.5 grand in a day. So it would have been really amazing. They all concur. Mike says that the clanger is that the consortium gets 10.5 grand for doing sod all, which is true. So they're even going to give Arnie 2 grand for his trouble. which they don't have to do, and I'm surprised Boise agreed with that, so it seems perfect.
Yeah.
And is this the first time Dell says, après moi le deluge?
I think it is, yeah. He says it about...
He says it in He Ain't Heavy, He's My Uncle, but in this episode he just says it at the end.
Oh, yeah, about Cassandra and Rodney
Yeah.
and going to the kitchen, yes.
So do you know what that means? It's a famous French saying.
No.
It actually means after me comes the flood. So it's not a positive thing, but Dell always says it in a positive way. Okay, so now that they're all in agreement, and I think this all happens very fast, Arnie has to go quickly to lunch immediately to the little place off the King Street, and Boise comes over and says,
I think it would be a good idea if we came with you, don't you, Arnie?
Yeah, he's right and all, Arnie. I mean, you don't want to be walking across the estate with a case full of gold, do you? Not on your own, anyway.
Fair enough.
they all get going, and even Albert gets dragged along somehow, and Rodney is now left alone in the living room. And he doesn't seem to care all about his 36 quid.
I mean, to be fair, we're laughing, but inflation, that'd be quite a lot now, wouldn't it?
And Rodney cares about money. So Rodney is pulling his dissatisfied, sulking face again, and we learn why when he talks to himself and says,
Oh, come on, Cassandra, ring. Right, phoning you, if that's what you think. I'm a man.
So we're looking at this subject again. Rodney has grown up in some ways, but in many ways he's very immature, especially when it comes to relationships, and this is really bothering him.
I do feel like he has got a lot of influence from Dell, though, over the years, too, when it comes to women, which probably isn't great.
No, yeah. I mean, this is the end of the scene. Did you have any notes on that scene, dude?
Yes. So... First of all, I wanted to ask, I wonder why they didn't ask Denzel originally to be in their consortium.
Because they needed him to have his own consortium.
Yes, I know, but it's strange that he wasn't asked. And I also agree with Rodney. He says they've gone too public with this, which, again, how does Denzel not know about it? They've gone public. Everyone's been invited into the consortium, and Denzel doesn't find out about it. I also put, why go to Dell's when he lives in such a dangerous estate? And they literally just said it in the scene. You don't want to go across the estate with all that gold on you. But they've walked into the flat with 12.5 grand and the gold all on them. I don't know. It just seems like they could have done the deal somewhere a bit safer, maybe. Not as dodgy, but anyway. And I love how they dress Trigger in this episode. Like, he's got this nice purple shirt on in this scene as well. He's all smart. I almost feel like he and Rodney have swapped looks in this episode.
Rodney's got the jumper.
Rodney's kind of like, Rodney's kind of like, a bit cash in this scene, in this episode, actually, and Trigger's a bit more upmarket. So that's the casino that's done it to him.
It's a bit upmarket in here too.
So my final thing I want to say is that nobody is as nice as Arnie. Like, if this had happened, right? I'm just thinking of this situation. If I was doing a deal with someone and they'd literally a couple of minutes earlier handed over like £12,500 to me and I'd given them the gold, the first thing anyone would do in this situation when they got that phone call is not go, I've just let them go for it. They'd be like, guys, we just did the deal like a few minutes ago. Can we not just undo the deal? I'm really sorry. Like, you'd ask at least, wouldn't you? Like, the fact that Arnie doesn't ask that, I think, is a little bit of a sign as well. And then also the fact that, like, if anyone is watching Arnie's face during that whole conversation, and this is a credit to the actor playing Arnie, that whole conversation where they're deciding what to do and coming up with all the different ideas, you can see Arnie's facial expressions changing, like, depending on the idea that is suggested. And actually, like, Dell's idea, Arnie looks pretty chuffed. And I think that this is, again, if you're watching that after you've, go back and look at it, I'm like, oh, okay, this is a good indication that he was, sort of pulling the strings from the outside. But yeah, I just said the way this whole thing worked out, not just this time, but multiple times over and over, as we see, it's too much of a coincidence, because there'd definitely be people that would derail this or would suggest other things. And again, like, even the meeting in the car park, like I said, people that would just steal from Arnie in the car and run off. Like, there's no way.
I mean, obviously we can harp on about this the whole time, that there is this, the whole thing is very sensitive to a lot of external people's thoughts. It has to work out like this every time. So it has to be just the right mix of people that nobody's like, no, we're not doing that, or like refusing, or just beating Arnie up and leaving with the gold. Like there's the fact that it implies later that he's pulled this deal off a lot of times. Yeah, obviously in reality.
And again, all in the same area, like, you know, so close, in fact, that these people who are the same friends, like in the same friendship group, go to the same pub. He's doing the same deal with those two people. Like, yeah. I think if we hadn't had, of course we have to have this so Del finds out about it, but if Denzel hadn't been the one, Denzel and his brothers, let's say, hadn't been the ones that he picked on, I think it would have been a little bit more believable. But then even the fact that Rodney sees him again, like, you know, on the way back from the airport, he's clearly doing it all in a very small area. I mean, at least the guys in Cash and Curry listed all the different areas they did it in, and then they moved on to somewhere further afield.
I do think because he's going to the airport, it's implied that Denzel's brother met him in a faraway casino, and he's doing it all over town. But I don't know about a small area. Again, it's supposed to be London. It's supposed to be unlikely that they would run into the same scheme. But yeah, it's risky.
Yeah.
And he isn't using any kind of different names or anything. By
No,
the sounds of
exactly.
So, yeah.
Especially because Del's like putting about the information that he's on the lookout for some gold chains, and then he gets a tip off almost straight away from Denzel saying, yeah, we're going to have some soon. We've met a dealer. Like, again, if Arnie's doing it with people like Del all the time, then people like Del have connections to everyone, you know? So it's a bit like,
And one of the parts of the you know, the whole thing working out is that they group together in friends, so they do have to ask around about it. So yes, I think it's quite possible that when you do that, you get a lot of word of mouth, and yeah. But anyway, it doesn't matter.
I think it's very specific, like 50
hair.
gold chains selling for a cheap price. Like, that's something all traders would hear about that.
Nicht buying them.
But yes, that's all I had. Trust me to sit here and poke holes in the plot. I know some people don't like that, but that's my thing.
So we're moving on to the restaurant scene now, and this was an incredible scene. So much fun to watch this back, and
Yes.
I'm sure they had so much fun filming it. So this was filmed outside and inside of and outside of Giovanni's restaurant, which was a fictional restaurant. It's a real restaurant, but it's not really called Giovanni's. It says in Lovely Jubbly that an address on the Grove in Ealing was modified to appear as this restaurant, and in the production schedule it says that the crew returned to the Noughts and Crosses restaurant. So the filming started on Sunday and Monday, November 20th and 21st, and then was not completed until the end of December, which was the Thursday the 29th and Friday the 30th of December, where the event program mentions that they had to set aside the 2 final days of location shooting to complete this scene, because this required extensive location work. So I'm thinking that this episode really was the one, if you look at the production schedule, that used up all the spare days, meaning that the last 3 episodes had absolutely no location budget left. So this was really the scene, I think, that was the final nail in the coffin for the location time. So it says, the quote from the program says, during the Christmas and New Year break, 4 days were cleared for the cast to engage in additional filming to complete Chain Gang. So good job, Chain Gang, for using up all of the location budget. So the scene starts with just Arnie, and we see him enter the restaurant and get seated. And Del and Boise come through the door a few moments later and try to get a table. And Del does have to tip the waiter to get seated, though. So this is Mario, and he was played by actor Frank Coda. And he had a lot of acting credits on IMDb, dating all the way back to 1955. And he was in 6 episodes of Coronation Street back in the 60s, as well as The Bill and EastEnders.
You always see the same kind of faces across all of the shows, though, don't you, in the UK?
Yeah, and from this time period, yeah. So he seats Del and Boise towards the back of the restaurant, and they both sit on the same side. This is the funny moment where Del sits down and Boise makes him move because he wants to see Arnie, so he insists that he sits next to Del. And Del doesn't like it. We get a repeat of this, like, afraid of the man's man side of Del's personality. He is really nervous that someone's going to think that they're a gay couple.
And she clearly does, that woman that
God
looks at them.
forbid. Yeah, and she looks at them with utter disgust as well, which is a definite sign of the times.
Yeah.
The shot as Arnie sits down reveals the van parked across the street from the restaurant. So we get a brief cut to Albert and Rodney in the van watching from the front seat. And then the camera pans across Arnie's table to show Mike and Trigger watching very unsubtly from Mike's car on the other side of the window. So cut back to Del and Boise here, and it's so funny. They start bickering about both sitting on the same side, and their faces get closer and closer together until that very judgmental woman, who was played by Marie Lorraine, by the way. Only 5 credits total on IMDb, so nothing major.
I was going to say, does it say homophobic woman in the script? Because that's literally her whole character. Oh, that and call the police.
Call the police, yeah, really. Very staged, yeah. So a big man comes in and Boise grabs Dell's hand. This is where we get a little quote from Dell.
To get your hand off mine, people think they're a couple of woofers or something.
They can think what they like. I've got $7,000 sitting up there. That's all I'm concerned with.
I kind of love how Boise doesn't care. Like, that's actually
so
refreshing.
I actually did have a note about that. I just said that it's interesting that Boise's the one who doesn't care in this situation and Dell is the one who does, because I feel like Dell seems like he would be more easygoing about this situation than Boise would if we were looking at their characters.
Well, yeah, so the only thing I wrote here was that in fairness to Dell, as much as this is a completely just played for laughs and this is a joke, him wanting to be seen as a man's man, in 1989 it was not really safe to be openly gay in public places. So there was a controversial Section 28 of the Local Government Act 1988, which specifically banned the promotion of homosexuality by local authorities and in schools. Section 28 specifically made a lot of people in the LGBTQ communities pull back from feeling like they could be openly gay in public. So there was a lot of stigma around it. And I know this is just all a joke, so I'm not saying that this has anything to do with that. It wasn't making a political statement, but it wasn't safe to just be in a restaurant, 2 men holding hands. So
right, yeah.
I say that I like the way Boise doesn't care, and that's because I like the fact that he's not concerned about appearing gay. But it is, in real honesty and social commentary for this time, it wasn't safe.
Interesting.
So we cut back between Mike and Trigger and Roddy and Albert, so back and forth between the cars. I wanted to point out that Roddy didn't leave with them, so how is he suddenly in the car?
Yeah, such a good point.
And as
slight continuity error there.
And as we cut back to Arnie, we see that he doesn't look too well here. He asks for a glass of water and he's shifting around a lot in his seat. He has cleverly laid the groundwork earlier about him being ill in the 111 Club.
Yeah.
So when Mario comes over and Arnie fakes his heart attack.
Would you care to order, Nelson?
Yes, I'd like an ambulance.
An ambulance?
Yes, an ambulance. I'm not very well.
Yes, sir. Telefono per un'ambulanza presto!
I love the way Arnie collapses. It's so dramatic. And I love how they film it through the window so we don't get any of the sound. So we see it all happen in silence. It's brilliant.
It is really well done. It's like, okay, I'm gonna have such a big heart attack, but everyone in all the cars around knows what's happened.
Yeah.
Like, that's
totally.
It's done very well. So we got So, yeah, I wrote just exactly that, so I won't say it again. Boise and Dell realise what's going on quickly.
It's Arnie. He's had a Connery.
Boise is determined his money and chains are not going to some national health hospital, so he takes control.
What are you going to do?
Watch.
Don't panic. I am a doctor.
So he cuts through the crowd and leans over Arnie.
Oh, yes, very nasty. He needs an operation.
Again, Boise's trying to take the thing off his wrist is so fucking obvious. Like, come on, Boise. Try and be a little bit subtle about it.
So judgmental woman from earlier calls out,
He's not a doctor. He's mugging the poor man.
So she does have another line, right? Those are her lines.
She does, yes.
She's got 2 lines. So this is all cleverly shown really well, and I guess this is why it took such a long time to shoot. You see all the multiple angles and perspectives.
Yeah.
So the punch, again, just like the heart attack, we see it through the window.
The slow motion punch.
Oi. Yeah.
Yeah. I love the way the guy keeps his arm there for so long after he's punched Boise.
Yes, it's not the best stunt, but it's very funny. Very, very comical, yeah. So Dell panics and grabs the little reserved sign off the table and comes over and says,
I am an officer of the law.
I really like the moment where he presses Boise against the glass and we get this incredible line from Albert, the best line.
Do you get the impression all is not going according to plan?
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Such a great line. So Dell actually manages to get Boise out of the door with this ruse, which is surprising, but I suppose with the real police there would be nothing they could really have done anyway in this case. But Dell drags Boise across the street as the ambulance pulls up outside and the paramedics head in to go to tend to Arnie. Trigger says,
So where's the money and the gold?
Where do you think it is? It's in Arnie's hold-all. Why'd you make us leave the rest of?
So Dell is pretty diplomatic here, and we see the different attitudes again from the consortium members. because you've got Boise's passion and mistrust causing a lot of trouble, Del trying to be level-headed, but he's right that, you know, the gold and the money are about to be out of reach, so they agree that they will follow the ambulance.
We'll follow them. Mike, your car's pretty nippy. You do the following.
Right.
This is the moment where they all turn around at the same time, and it's so iconic. It's such a used shot, like the shot where they all just turn around.
As is Rodney driving off and them trying to get in the back of his van.
Yeah. I love this scene. I really do. Yeah. But poor Mike has been clamped for parking illegally very quickly. I think you actually do see the clamping truck behind them, right? While they're talking.
You do.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. So they need to make a game time decision here. Rodney jumps in the van and speeds off, leaving everyone but Albert behind. Del calls him a plonker, but honestly, he was doing the right thing here. They didn't need to all get in the van. If he hadn't done what he did, they had no chance of keeping up with the ambulance.
Yeah, I also said, how on earth would the four of them have gotten in the back of that van? I mean, even if it's empty, that would have been quite a squeeze.
I mean, we did miss a really funny comical opportunity here to have like Boise, Mike, Trigger and Del all in the back of the van.
That's true.
I do love the shot where the ambulance speeds off and Rodney zooms off and Del's just left behind and says,
Lonka.
So that's the end of that scene, dude. What notes do you have? Such a great scene.
Yeah, it is. Just a couple of the little things that you didn't mention. So the waiter reminds me of the waiter in Miami Twice. I was half expecting him to go Donagetti when Del walked in. Yeah, Boise and Del sitting together, as you said, so funny. It just looks really funny the way that they're sitting. And so when Del pretends to be the police officer and he comes over, and the woman who just saw them sitting together and knows they're friends and were in the restaurant together only comments on his height and not the fact that he could be faking being a police officer to help his friend.
He's going to arrest his friend,
Yeah, exactly. She literally just gave them a judgmental, not only does she think they're friends, she thinks they're lovers. So I'm surprised that she, didn't point that out instead of, oh, you're not very tall. And I also said it's really funny the way they go outside to get away and literally stay right outside the window of the restaurant where everyone in the restaurant would have seen that they just went across the street and they didn't go anywhere else.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny. So yeah, that was all I had. But like you said, great scene. Very, very funny.
I loved this scene so much when I was a kid. I loved the whole second part of this episode.
I still do now. I still love this scene. Yeah, this is a very funny scene. Again, that music playing in the background the whole time. Every time I hear that music, I'm like, oh, it reminds me of being a kid again.
So we cut back to the flat and the scene fades into a very full-on looking consortium. We see Mike and Boise first. Boise's still nursing his nose and Trigger is at the table. Del is pacing anxiously. Mike wants to use the phone to sort his car out, but Del refuses to let him. He lets us all know that they have not heard from Rodney or anything about Arnie yet, so they're all just waiting. And iconic exchange here from Boise and Trigger.
What's good for a broken nose?
Baseball bat, knuckle duster.
I mean, my nose might be broken.
Will you shut up going on about your router, or I ram this up it for a splint?
I love Uta.
I know. Such a great word for a nose. Your Uta.
So Rodney and Albert rush through the door and let all the consortium know that they lost the ambulance because they were able to go through red lights. So this is where they realize that, they weren't able to follow it because it goes through red lights, which comes back. It's obviously a huge part of the plan that's laid out by Arnie, but, they hadn't thought about that. So they all try to figure out a plan now because they think that the money and the chains are just sitting in a hospital somewhere. And from the audience's point of view, we can believe that that's true because we don't know this is a scam. So they think about phoning them or driving around all the hospitals, but it seems impossible. Trigger is the one that points out that there must be 25 hospitals in London, and we get another dig at Maggie Thatcher now from Rodney.
Go for the Tory party, otherwise it could have been 30.
I looked this up just for comparison, and it's inconclusive. Varied data shows that there are currently between 84 to 134 hospitals in London now. But we don't really know what boundaries we're working with here, so it's kind of meaningless. But we can assume that there are a lot more than there were in 1989.
Yeah, I mean, I when I hear this line, like 25 hospitals, I'm like, we're talking about 12.5 grand. Surely that's worth driving around 25 hospitals for. If they do it amongst them, it wouldn't take that long, would it?
And there's 6 of them. Yeah, they could all go to like a bunch of hospitals each.
It's not that many. It's not like completely out of the realm that they could do that,
The bigger problem is whether or not they would let, because again, they don't even know Arnie's last name. They're not going to go, have you got a patient called Arnie here? Like, they're not going to be like, yeah, come on in. Look, let's find all the Arnies.
Yeah,
so,
of course.
Again, great plan. So the phone rings and it's some Indian doctor from Arnie's ward. So here we have to step back and not try to overanalyze this. Because if any of them had been thinking straight, they would know that this was fishy.
Why would they have called Dell?
Doctors do not call non-family members like this out of the blue. They wouldn't have had Dell's number. They wouldn't have known who Arnie was. And they wouldn't have called to tell some rando that he's dead.
Especially since his wife had already been and got his stuff, apparently. So, like, why would they make a special call to this random acquaintance? Exactly. It makes no sense
He even knows, like, he even asks, I guess it's implied later, that they asked, did you know the deceased very well? So they wouldn't have, did you know him, by the way? He's dead.
This guy we're calling you, and where did we get your number from? Well, who knows? Yeah, exactly.
So,
it's just...
This is all I'm going to say about this, so don't bring it back up, because I know
actually, no, there is one other thing I want to say, is, like, we didn't even see Arnie get Dell's number. Like, and Arnie rang his wife from the phone. So, like, how did Arnie know Dell's landline number?
Yeah, that must have just happened offset, I guess. But still, yeah, this is the bit that, like, I think if you were savvy enough to think about, like, it being a scam, you'd be like, why would they call randomly like this?
Yes. But then, of course, at this point, they're so desperate and panicked because it's like a little glimmer of hope, which is why they all react the way they do when they get the call.
It's just also a privacy thing. Because, like, then Dell tries to get the number and the doctor's all like, oh, no, he can't. Arnie? Yes, Arnold. So what did they do? Like, just call up and be like, oh, Arnie is dead. They didn't give his last name when they called to say that he died.
That's a very good point. Yeah.
So they're no longer searching for hospitals now. They are now searching for Pat. Just Pat, no last name. So the doctor won't give the address to Dell. Dell is upset. And right after he delivered the most personal information possible, he wouldn't tell him his last name. So that's what they wrote. So now they're looking for Arnie and Pat's address, and it becomes quickly evident that nobody knows their last name. They review a few ideas here. They can get Arnie's last name from the electoral register. Notice that Trigger is the one who has been very smart and helpful through this episode, not dumb.
Yes.
I love Rodney's line.
They ain't going to be down on the electoral register as Arnie and Pat, are they?
No, they're not. But surely you could find... There can't be that many Arnold and Pat, like, in a relationship together. I mean, there'll be first names and surnames. Surely you could just look for people who are Arnie and Pat married, and it would help.
It was an option, if they had no other option. So they all, like, there's a lot of bickering, and then Albert has a bright idea.
I've got an idea. The phone!
Oh, my God, he's hearing things now.
Arnie was the last one to dial out on his phone. He called his wife. At their house, remember? So what? This phone's got a redial button. If you press that, you get straight through to Arnie's house.
I love how they all celebrate Albert here. So Dell calls and he's very solemn on the phone. This is another really funny moment. The call doesn't last long because he realizes he's gotten through to the Highcliffe Ruddy Hotel, Guernsey. So we learn here that Rodney caved and he did call Cassandra.
It's actually crazy because that would have worked.
Might have.
Because unless Arnie didn't really call someone, there is that possibility that Arnie didn't actually make a call and he was just faking it because, that could easily have been done on that phone.
He probably called the Stephen and what's his name line, right? So he would have gotten back through to the Indian doctor.
Or the other thing that they could have done is they could have redialed the hospital.
Yeah, I guess so. But so this is the thing.
1471 didn't exist back then, did it? No,
it didn't. That's the thing. It was too early for 1471. But I guess I was going to say there's no way to block a number that you called out. So Arnie, it could have worked if Rodney hadn't called the hotel. But who would they have got through to? Probably the boys. Yeah. That called. Yeah.
And they probably would have just gone like, oh, you've got the wrong number. I don't know who this is.
Yeah. So it wouldn't have helped. But so they all lose hope now, and it's quite sad. They all kind of give up and start to leave. Boise says,
and that's it, innit? We've done our money, and it's vanished into thin air.
Oh, now, Boise.
I am going to see if I can buy myself a little doll that looks something like you, and then I'm going to burn it.
The amount of times I have wanted to say that to somebody.
So we also find out here that Trigger's aunt didn't know she pawned her necklace.
Again, Trigger being a bit of a crook again there.
I do feel bad here. Poor Dell is getting blamed for all of this. And I don't think he actually did anything wrong. He did put together this this deal, so he is ultimately responsible, but I don't think he really did anything wrong here.
Well, no, they all fell for it, didn't they?
Yeah, it's a scam.
I mean, Mike is mad because his car is clamped on top of the money, so I think that there's a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Obviously, Trigger's sad because he realises that he can't give his Aunt Reen the money back. Boise's lost $7,000, so, I can understand he's lost a lot more than the others. But yeah, Dell's lost $4,000.
But yeah.
Albert's not lost that much, but of course Albert and Rodney aren't going to be mad at Dell.
Luckily, they don't drop it because they are all friends again by the time you see them in the Nag's Head. So I'm not not so super bothered about the fact that they're all angry here. They're just taking out their anger on Dell, but they do come back together, which is nice. So that's the end of the scene. Anything else on that scene, dude?
I think it's quite funny at the beginning of the scene where Rodney says St. Stephen's Hospital, as though that's the one that he's in, and then he goes no, and then that's where we lost him. It's so misleading the way that he says that line.
Yeah, that
of
is
course
true.
He says it like that on purpose, but yeah, that's quite.
Isn't
funny.
it Albert that says that's where they lost him as well?
Yeah, Albert says it afterwards, but the way that Rodney says we followed them down to St. Stephen's Hospital, got the right hospital. I love how quickly Dell turns on Rodney because Trigger points out that it isn't doable. He's like, yes, good thinking, Rodney.
I only moved here recently from Lambeth. He wouldn't be on the list yet.
You dipstick.
There was something I had a query about is, would there not eventually have been a funeral announced in the obituaries in the paper? I know that this is quite an old-fashioned thing to do, but I'd imagine at the time this is very common to announce deaths, so they would have been on the lookout maybe for that, and obviously Arnie wasn't really dead, so that would have maybe also been a hint to them that it was a scam or something wasn't quite right there amongst all the other things. And yeah, I just said that Trigger's the nicest friend. He didn't get angry with Dell at all. He just disappointed again. It kind of reminds me of
Losing Streak.
When he lost in Losing Streak, yeah, and Trigger's just sort of sitting there and he's like, sorry, Trig. But yeah, Trigger never gets angry. He's just lovely all the time. That's such a nice thing about him.
Yeah, that's it. It's true. Yeah, and we've said this from the very beginning. The most loyal friend that Dell has is Trigger.
So yeah, that's all I had for that scene.
That's all you had? Okay, great. So we're going to cut to the scene of Rodney picking up Cassandra from the airport now. And this was filmed on Wednesday, the 28th of December, 1988. So in that little additional 4 days that they added. Rodney has just picked up Cassandra from the airport and she's saying that the trip was terrible, which pleases Rodney immensely.
Oh, good.
She makes a joke about the orgy and Rodney smiles. So we see there's no bad blood. They're fine. Yeah. There's no anger. So we get a shot here of the van having to stop behind an ambulance with the back doors open. And Cassandra is sympathetic, but now we see Rodney has gone white as a sheep. I put sheep, I meant sheet. Sheet. So he sees Arnie being carried out on a stretcher and the ambulance peels away and Cassandra says,
"What's the matter with you? You look like you've seen a ghost."
Which he kind of has. And that's the end of that scene. Any notes?
Not really, I don't think. Let me see. I said, what are the odds that Rodney would see Arnie again like that? He's not even a few cars behind. He's literally the car that was right behind. And of course, wouldn't Arnie, at this point, he's sort of in and out, opening his eyes and pretending. That 3-wheeled van is pretty distinctive. I would have thought that they would have noticed that and been like, shit. And I said, Arnie set it up again very quickly. Cassandra was supposed to be gone a week. She's already there when Rodney makes the phone call. How long does it take Arnie to set up this whole situation and this deal?
Yeah, not long, obviously. But yeah, I would assume that he's doing the building trust in the casinos thing as a longer build-up.
Right.
And the deal part is the less time-consuming part. So
yeah, it does seem like it happened very quickly after he did it to Dell and them, though. So, and yeah, I said this earlier, but how dumb to do the same con again in such close proximity, I said. But you did mention that maybe this was far away. But he's doing it with Denzel, so it can't be that far away, really, from where they already are.
London is pretty massive, and I feel like they always talk about Gatwick, whereas they don't talk about Heathrow. They tend to fly in and out of Gatwick. I feel like they have to go quite a lot out the way to go to Gatwick. It's, it could have been really far on the other side of town. I mean, I don't think in this day and age that it was that far-fetched to do it all over London. Because we don't know how far away he met Denzel's brothers. He didn't meet them in the 111 Club, right? So we don't, I mean, I know we could pull that part of the plot apart.
Well, we did already.
At least they don't sit down at the end of the episode like they do in Cash and Curry and go, we've now done this part of town, this part of town.
Let's explain the story to you. Yes, very true. Although, in a way, we do get kind of a summing up of the story in the next scene. But yeah, that's all I have for this scene.
I was going to say, so it cleverly fades into the next scene where we just see, we don't need the explanation really because we've seen what's happened. Dell is just sitting down with the consortium, and they weren't just unfortunate, they were actually scammed, we can see. Del says,
He's doing it all over the town.
Yeah, you'd think he'd be taking things easy in his condition, wouldn't you?
I love the fact that Trig still doesn't get it. But yeah, it's such a classic.
because what's Mr. Stavros got to do with it? Yeah, I know. But he's got the innocence of a child, doesn't he, Trigger? It's lovely.
Yeah. So now we see Denzel, which is so great, because remember that we didn't see Denzel for such a long time.
Yes.
And now he's back, so it's so great. We saw him in the last episode, but the fact that we now see him in 2 consecutive episodes in series 6 makes us feel like he's around.
He's in
again,
it.
Which is really nice.
He's here to stay. Yeah, it's good.
So he comes over and he tries to interact with Del and Trigger, but they kind of brush him off. And it's worth noting here that Denzel is trying to do business with Del. This is the first time we've ever seen this, and Del brushes him off, so we never see that again, because after To Hull and Back, where he swore to stay away from Del, and then even in the last episode with the whole doll thing, he's now trying. So I think we see a more mature friendship with Del and his friends in this episode, which is kind of nice.
Yes, agreed.
So then Denzel tries to go to talk to Boise and Mike and Rodney and gets the same treatment. He finally decides to ask why no one's talking to him. And he gets stuck in the introvert's nightmare, where he just gets stuck alone with someone he doesn't know to talk to, Cassandra.
To be fair, though, when Rodney says you two have a chat, Denzel actually sits down at the table. Like, Cassandra's already sitting there, and Denzel's the one that's like, okay, then. Like, he sits down. I know it's awkward, but he could have just been like, you're all right, I won't bother you, and gone back to the bar. But he actually, sat down and looked at Cassandra. So I feel like Cassandra would be more sort of like, why are you sitting down in that situation?
Yeah. I mean, it's obvious when Rodney goes, right, I'll just leave you two to have a little chat. Like, it's obvious Cassandra's like, what are you doing? This is leaving me.
Yeah.
But I really love this moment with them all crammed around that corner table. It's so cozy. Like, this is our little exposition scene, very neatly written. We learn that Del suspects the 2 ambulance workers were Arnie's 2 sons, Gary and young Stephen, and that the real ambulance showed up at the restaurant 5 minutes after the fake one left.
And no one can follow an ambulance because
It goes through red lights.
And you can pick up these old ambulances for next to nothing anywhere.
So we needed that little explanation there, and now we see they all understand the plan. They know, apart from Trigger, and they all know the consequences. So it's nice to see they're all resigned together in the fact that they would scam together as a group, and there's no anger. Although Trig still doesn't get it.
So what's Mr. Stavros got to do with it all?
So the only plan of action they have now is to put the word about that they're looking for the gold chains and keep their ears to the ground.
Trig, that just means listen out. It doesn't mean get on your hands and knees and go.
So Denzel quickly shoots off 30 seconds before Del concludes the meeting, and Del and Rodney join Cassandra. So luckily, she just happened to tell them straight away that Denzel's brother Carl met a retired jeweler in a casino and they're buying 250 gold chains. So here we have a great moment where Del and Rodney try to chase Denzel out of the pub.
Denzel, don't buy them! You're going to have to shout louder than that, Denzel. Not like Germany.
Denzel, Nick, buying them!
So did you notice the error here?
The error?
Yeah, Denzel did not tell Rodney that he was going to Germany. He only told Del and Cassandra. So Rodney goes, he's halfway to Germany. He doesn't know that.
Oh, I didn't notice that. Well spotted, dude.
Yeah, no big deal, of course. I just loved the fact that
massive deal. The whole episode's ruined.
Yeah, I'm moving it down to my number 64 because of that error. I'm just kidding. That's all I had, dude. What do you have?
Okay. Yeah, I also said exactly what you did about Denzel trying to do business with Del. Like, this is like one of the few times it's usually Del trying to force feed Denzel stuff. But yeah, that would have been very strange for Denzel. It's a shame that Rodney didn't tell Denzel what the heavy stuff was, because then they would have had the instant resolution from Denzel. And yeah, I don't know sort of what the situation would be where if you were to like pick up someone in an ambulance and they had a patient that had like a briefcase handcuffed to them. I feel like that would be a suspicious situation, however you look at it.
Yeah, so the only thing I know is I was taken to hospital in an ambulance one time, and I'll remember it forever because of the fact that they took all of my stuff, all my clothes and all my belongings, and I didn't get them back for like 3 days because they were like lost in the hospital. And it was a huge, but they wouldn't have been able to, like, if he had really gone to hospital, because we're forgetting that he never actually did. But if he had gone to hospital, maybe something would have been flagged here because they would have had to remove that to be able to work on him. So they would have had to drill it off or whatever they do. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, presumably he'd have the key on him. I mean, you wouldn't just like have something like that attached to you and not have the key, I would have thought. But anyway, I've got to say, I love the line where Boise says,
I'm sitting here still convalescing from open wallet surgery.
That's a really funny way to describe it.
That's really funny. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's really good. And then also, I put here, this is the second time that Cassandra has managed to save their asses by spelling out the story to them, because she did the same in Danger UXD. So thank goodness for Cassandra. She lets them know about the dolls and she lets them know about Denzel buying the chains. I wonder if she'll do it again in another episode.
Yeah, maybe. I'm trying to
I can't think of a time she does, but yeah, maybe she does.
Maybe in a way it's almost like the female presence in the Trotters world is protective because they don't have their mom, but now there's a female who is almost... Because Del says at the end of Danger UXD, like, it's not luck, it's mom. It wasn't. It was Cassandra. But
it was Cassandra.
She is like representing the mom in many ways because Rodney's acting like a kid and wanting all the attention from Cassandra, just like he wants from his mom. So.
And then she's literally the mom in the next episode.
Yes, that's right. Who am I supposed to be his mom?
And that's all I had.
Okay, great. So we're going to move into the final scene of the episode. This scene was filmed in Kensington outside of a restaurant called Tandoori Nights in Hammersmith. And here we get the inside the scam moment where we see Gary and Stephen hanging around the corner, waiting for the moment to go and pick up Arnie and talking about their evil plan. So they're doing
This is a bit like Cash and Curry, to be fair, this part here.
I mean, every crime episode or movie needs some explanation from the criminals. And we know that from this scene that it was the brothers that called to pretend to be the Indian doctor from Arnie's ward. So we needed it.
I feel like the way that they act this scene, though, is what makes it worse. I feel like, no offense to the two actors, they were probably, fine and everything. It's just in that particular scene, it's like, and this time you be the Indian doctor. Did you know the deceased very well? It's just the way they put the voice on, and the way that they speak to each other is not naturalistic at all. Like, it's so staged, which I find really funny, but yes.
Yeah, so I wrote here, Gary was played by Stephen Fortune, who is still an active actor, but lots of small parts.
So Gary was played by Stephen, and Stephen was played by Gary.
Stephen was played by Sam Howard, who has no credits after 1991. So.
Oh, that'll be it.
Yeah. So not huge actors or anything, but then they only
probably put this on his show reel. That probably put the nail in his coffin.
Oh, that's not very nice. So we cut to the restaurant. We see Arnie pulling a stunt. This time, Denzel and one of his brothers are sitting together on the same side watching.
But they're drinking beer, so more masculine.
So we cut quickly to Arnie getting loaded into the ambulance and Denzel coming out into the street, and the ambulance pulls away. We cut to a smiling Arnie.
Wonderful.
You don't look too well.
Here he's looking up at Del and Boise, the ambulance workers. Rodney is driving and Trigger is in the front seat. And then we see Gary and Stephen left empty-handed at the restaurant roadside. So they go back into the ambulance and Denzel and his brothers intercept.
Watch it, fellas.
What's that?
Get in.
Such a great ending here. So
I agree.
The end plays out nicely for the audience. We get the satisfaction of seeing Arnie busted and panicked, the consortium getting to be smug about their bust. And Arnie gets very worried here when Del raises the pliers.
Try this, Del boy.
Thank you, Doctor.
You don't need that to cut the chain off. I've got a key.
Who said anything about cutting the chain off? Calm down, Arnie, calm down. You'll give yourself an heart attack.
Da, 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 da,
That's what I thought. Da, 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 da.
I always used to think that when I was a kid. In that last line.
Me too, yeah. An heart attack. So the smile ending for me indicates he's not actually going to hurt Arnie, but some people are like, oh, this is a really threatening ending from Del. Del wouldn't actually hurt Arnie.
No, I think Del can see that Arnie isn't okay for a fist fight. Del would definitely hurt someone if he thought that they were like physically his equal. But like look at Tommy McKay. But I don't think that no, he wouldn't physically. And Del also knows the law well enough not to do something crazy like that, because obviously they'd get in a lot of trouble if they used pliers on Arnie.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder what resolution they ended up getting. Did they get all the money and the gold? Because they can't report Arnie to the police or anything because their deal was illegal too. So
I think Arnie would come off worse, but yes, I agree with you. I think they would also be in trouble for trying to buy things without paying the VAT. But that's Dell's whole identity. So yeah, I mean, I guess this was sort of dealt with, discreetly, let's say. But yeah, Arnie definitely would have been scared out of his wits, and obviously I'm guessing Denzel and his brothers really did probably beat Gary and Stephen up because they've got no reason not to, or at least gave him a few punches in the stomach, like a friendly warning, don't ever try this again with anyone.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, who knows? But we don't actually see the resolution, which is fine. We just get the nice ending here. So, any other notes on this resolution scene, dude?
I said maybe stop calling the person who you were doing the con on after Arnie supposedly dies, because it's kind of like it's surely better to leave it open that he could be dead, he could be alive, than to know he's dead. I feel like that would actually work better for their con, to not make that phone call that they make.
I think they do that because they think then that they'll leave it alone, maybe. I don't know why they do that, yeah.
Yeah, it seems to me that it could go either way. I mean, if you tell him he's dead, just like they did, they try and hunt down his wife or even his sons. Like, there might be a way to find that, because they don't use fake names.
Yeah, about the fake names, but then there might not be a wife, and there's nowhere to find him.
There might not be a wife, but we know there's definitely 2 sons. So yeah, I don't know. It just seems to me that it would make just as much sense to not call, because as you say, the call raises suspicion as well, because then you're like, why are you calling me, if you really think about it? So I don't know. And I love how they all have uniforms. I love that they went to that trouble, like Boise, Dell, Rodney, and is it Trigger in the front seat with Rodney?
Yeah, I always thought he doesn't look like Trigger. I always thought that.
They all have. I love the fact that they got the
except
uniforms.
for Albert. Albert's just his usual little outfit.
Bother. Yeah, that's true. But yeah, that's really nice. And surely Denzel and his brothers pushing ambulance works into the back of a van or the back of an ambulance in broad daylight isn't a good idea, because anyone could have seen that and that would have looked really dodgy. So I don't know. I feel like you might want to do that a bit more subtly. And the last line is great. I completely agree with you. A really good ending, a strong ending. And I don't think we need to know what happened to Arnie personally. No. I think that it's better to leave it as a discussion point like we've just had. I think that's a good way to do it.
Yeah. No, yeah, you're right. Yeah. So if you have nothing else, then we can move on to our awards segment.
We've won! Oh, what are you going on about, Rodders? We've won!
Okay, so as always, we have 3 awards to announce this week, and we'll begin with Plonker of the Week.
Are you two going to be plonkers for the rest of your lives?
So for Plonker of the Week, we each nominate a plonker and we'll discuss and decide who wins. So, dude, I think I can guess, but who's your plonker this week?
Well, you'll have a hard time guessing because I didn't write down a nomination.
Well done. I should
guess
just do the awards myself, shouldn't I, every week?
I don't know who to nominate because I think, are you thinking it's obviously Arnie that's the
Yes,
plonker?
I said Arnie and his sons.
But
and I put obviously afterwards.
I don't think it is that obvious, because even though we are able to find holes in the plan, it's actually a pretty good plan. There are things that they could have done to tighten it up. But it's a good plan, and it must have worked for them in the past, so they wouldn't continue to do it.
There's too many variables. I can't say that word. There's too many variables. Fuck, what did you say that word?
This is going to the beginning of the episode.
Say the word, dude.
Variables.
Thank you. Variables. So I can't say it. There's too many of those for this plan to work, because obviously we see it all go very smoothly with Dell and Denzel and those other guys that they're conning when Roddy sees them in the back of the ambulance. But in reality, I don't think most people would go to where Dell goes. I think it's as high as 50-50 that people would come up with that conclusion as the way to go about it. And of course, there is a chance, because we didn't need to do this with Dell, that Arnie would then step in and make the suggestion if the people that he was doing the deal with didn't say it. But then that would, I don't know, raise some suspicion maybe. I just feel like this is definitely not a guarantee, the way that they set this up. So I do think that even though we were shown the great outcome for Arnie for the most part of how the plan works out, I think it would be much harder to pull off continuously than we are led to believe in this episode.
Okay. I was thinking I do want to nominate Rodney for being a plonker because of his behavior with Cassandra and the fact that he just goes, like, he sits there, he's all, I'm not calling you, I'm a man, and then he goes ahead and calls her. So that's a side. I think overall, yes, we could give the plonker award to Arnie and his gang of criminals, assuming they're his real sons. So they are his real sons, because they say, do you see Dad? Is he in position?
Yeah, you see Dad,
Yeah, but we'll give it to them. They're plonkers of the week. But Rodney has an honourable mention for plonker just because of his behaviour with Cassandra, and this is only going to get worse. So.
Okay, so Arnie is plonker of the week.
Wonderful.
Okay, so Jenny have you? No. Okay, so as Jenny has not had a chance to nominate the best line of the episode this week, I'm going to nominate some lines and Jenny can add to any that she thinks are not there. So I have 3 nominations this week. The first one is Denzel nicked by them. Just because it's so iconic. Great line. And also Albert's line, do you get the impression all is not going according to plan?
Yeah.
And finally, just because I always have a soft spot for Boise's one-liners, I'm going to buy myself a doll that looks something like you, and then I'm going to burn it. So these are the 3 lines I selected. Any from you, dude, that you can think of?
I mean, I've started to realise that I mention all the lines I love as I go through the episode, and that's why I have a hard time, because I don't write them down at the end. I will have mentioned others. I do think nicked buying them is the most memorable.
Nicked buying them, yeah. I'm happy to give it to that as well. I think it's great on its own as well. It reminds me of what is your name?
Yeah.
And I think we gave it to that as well for that episode.
No, we actually gave it to
gave it to Boise's line. We did,
Louis
sorry,
Armstrong,
for Prussia with Love. Yes, we did.
So this time we'll give it to the nicht buying them and not to John Chalice. Although Boise's deliveries of all the best lines in this episode are so great. So honourable mention just for generally Boise's line delivery.
Yes, agreed. Amazing.
And everyone's really, I don't know.
Yeah, it's true. And then the best moment, I have 2 moments to choose from. One of them is the ending, the reveal in the back of the ambulance. That's a great moment. And then the whole restaurant scene, honestly, where, it was all not going according to plan. But the part where Del is arresting Boise and pushes him up against the window, I think is one of my favourite moments of the whole episode. It's just so memorable. But yeah, the whole part, like when they're trying to get in the back of the van and Rodney drives off, when they all turn around and see Mike's car clamped, that whole sequence is very memorable. So
yeah,
what would you choose, dude? Would you choose the end of the episode or would you choose that as the best moment?
Obviously the end is very satisfying for the audience because, it's not very often that we get to see Del really have a huge winner, and they really have a winner at the end of this one. They catch him out, and then they catch him out in a really good way as well.
Yes.
And they all work together to get that moment of celebration, and they all smile at each other.
And they don't take anything away, like, either, because I'm thinking to Hullenbach, like, they let Del win, and then they make him throw the 15 grand over the balcony. So, yeah, at least here they actually just let him win, and it's like he's won when the episode ends.
So as much as all the other action in the scenes are great, I personally think the end is the best moment of this episode.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, and we don't have that many great endings. Like, we always talk about the endings. Sometimes I'm not a big fan, so I think it's good, to highlight when an episode has a great ending. And I think
the ending of a very great episode.
So if that's all, drink up, we're leaving.
Okay, great. So that wraps it up for this week. Join us in 2 weeks' time when we'll be discussing Series 6, Episode 4, The Unlucky Winner Is. Until then,
I got your troubles and come along. Well, I should be neat and like the song. And Honolulu across the sea. Making wicky wacky down in Waikiki.
Au revoir, listeners. If you like what you hear and want to contact us, you can email us at longlivehookystreetpodcast@gmail.com. All one word, no spaces. Please like the video and subscribe. You can also find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, iHeart, Instagram, Facebook, and please use the link in the description for our Buy Me a Coffee. Bonjour.